London, in the year 1777. It is morning. Lady Sneerwell has risen late, but she is now sitting at her dressing table, putting the finishing touches to her elaborate appearance. Mr. Snake, the gossip writer, sits near her. They are sipping chocolate.
The paragraphs, you say, Mr. Snake, were all inserted?
They were, madam, and as I copied them myself in a feigned hand, there can be no suspicion whence they came.
Did you circulate the report of Lady Brittle's intrigue with Captain Boastall?
That's in as fine a train as your ladyship could wish. In the common course of things, I think it must reach Mrs. Clackett's ears within 24 hours, and then you know the business is as good as done.
Why, truly, Mrs. Clackett has a very pretty talent, and a great deal of industry.
True, madam, and has been tolerably successful in her day. To my knowledge, she has been the cause of 6 matches being broken off, and 3 sons being disinherited, of 4 forced elopements, and as many close confinements, of 9 separate maintenances, and 2 divorces.
She certainly has talents, but her manner is gross.
It is very true. She generally designs well, has a free tongue and a bold invention, but her colouring is too dark, and her outlines often extravagant. She wants that delicacy of tint and mellowness of sneer which distinguish your ladyship's scandal.
You are partial, Snake.
Not in the least. Everybody allows that Lady Sneerwell can do more with a word or look than many can with the most laboured detail, even when they happen to have a little truth on their side to support it.
Yes, my dear Snake, and I am no hypocrite to deny the satisfaction I reap from the success of my efforts. Wounded myself in the early part of my life by the envenomed tongue of slander, I confess I have since known no pleasure equal to the reducing others to the level of my own injured reputation.
Nothing could be more natural. But, Lady Sneerwell, there is one affair in which you have lately employed me, wherein I confess I am at a loss to guess your motives.
I conceive you mean with respect to my neighbour, Sir Peter Teazle, and his family.
I do. Here are 2 young men, Joseph and Charles Surface, to whom Sir Peter has acted as a kind of guardian since their father's death. The elder, Joseph, possessing the most amiable character and universally well spoken of, the younger, Charles, the most dissipated and extravagant young fellow in the kingdom without friends or character. Now, in the face of these circumstances, it is utterly unaccountable to me why you, the widow of a city knight with a good jointure, should fail to close with the passion of a man of such character and expectations as Mr. Joseph, and more so, why you should be so uncommonly earnest to destroy the mutual attachment subsisting between his brother Charles and Sir Peter's ward, Maria.
Then at once to unravel this mystery, let me inform you that love has no share whatever in the intercourse between Joseph Surface and me.
No?
His real attachment is to Maria, or her fortune. But finding in his brother a favoured rival, he's been obliged to mask his pretensions and profit by my assistance.
Yet still more am I puzzled as to why you should interest yourself in his success.
Heavens, how dull you are! Cannot you surmise the weakness which I hitherto through shame have concealed even from you? Must I confess that Charles, that libertine, that extravagant, that bankrupt in fortune and reputation, that he it is for whom I am thus anxious and malicious, and to gain whom I would sacrifice everything?
Now indeed does your conduct appear consistent. But how came you and Mr. Joseph so confidential?
For our mutual interest. I found him out a long time since. I know him to be artful, selfish, and malicious. In short, a sentimental knave. While with Sir Peter, and indeed with all his acquaintance, he passes for a youthful miracle of prudence, good sense, and benevolence.
Yes, yet Sir Peter vows he's not his equal in England, and above all, he praises him as a man of sentiment.
True. And with the assistance of his sentiment and hypocrisy, he has brought Sir Peter entirely into his interest with regard to Maria. My poor Charles has not a friend in the house, though I fear he has a powerful one in Maria's heart, against whom we must direct our schemes.
Mr. Surface.
Show him up. He generally calls about this time. I don't wonder at people giving him to me for a lover.
My dear Lady Sneerwell, how do you do today? Mr. Snake, you're most obedient.
Snake has just been rallying me on our mutual attachment, but I've informed him of our real views. You know how useful he has been to us. I assure you the confidence is not ill-placed.
Madam, it is impossible for me to suspect a man of Mr. Snake's sensibility and discernment.
Well, well, no compliments now. But tell me when you last saw your mistress, Maria, or what is more material to me, your brother.
I have not seen either since I left you, but I can inform you that they never meet. Some of your stories have taken a good effect on Maria.
Ah, my dear Snake, the merit of this belongs to you. But do your brother's distresses increase?
Every hour. I hear he has had another execution in the house yesterday. In short, his dissipation and extravagance exceed anything I have ever heard of.
Poor Charles.
True, madam, notwithstanding his vices, one can't help feeling for him. Poor Charles. I'm sure I wish it was in my power to be of any essential service to him, for the man who cannot share in the distresses of a brother, even when merited by his own misconduct, deserves...
Oh, lad, you're going to be moral and forget that you're among friends.
Oh, egad, that's true. I'll keep that sentiment till I see Sir Peter. However, it is certainly a charity to rescue Maria from such a libertine, who, if he is to be reclaimed, can be so only by a person of your ladyship's superior accomplishments and understanding.
I believe Lady Sneerwell hears company coming. I'll go and copy the letter I mentioned to you. Mr. Surface, you're most obedient.
Sir, you're very devoted. Lady Sneerwell, I am very sorry you've put any further confidence in that fellow.
Why so?
I have lately detected him in frequent conference with old Rowley, who was formerly my father's steward, and has never, you know, been a friend of mine.
And do you think he would betray us?
Nothing more likely. Take my word for it, Lady Sneerwell, that fellow hasn't virtue enough to be faithful even to his own villainy. Ah, Maria.
Maria, my dear, how do you do? What's the matter?
Oh, there's that disagreeable lover of mine, Sir Benjamin Backbite, has just called up my guardians with his odious Uncle Crabtree. So I slipped out and ran hither to avoid them.
Is that all?
If my brother Charles had been at the party, madam, perhaps you would not have been so much alarmed.
Nay, now you are severe. For I dare swear the truth of the matter is, Maria heard you were here. But, my dear, what has Sir Benjamin done that you should avoid him so?
He has done nothing, but 'tis for what he has said. His conversation is a perpetual libel of all his acquaintance.
Aye, and the worst of it is there's no advantage in not knowing him, for he'll abuse a stranger just as soon as his best friend, and his uncle's as bad.
Nay, we should make allowance. Sir Benjamin is a wit and a poet.
For my part, I own, madam, wit loses its respect with me when I see it in company with malice. What do you think, Mr. Surface?
Certainly, madam. To smile at the jest which plants a thorn in another's breast is to become a principal in the mischief.
There's no possibility in being witty without a little ill nature. The malice of a good thing is the barb that makes it stick. What's your opinion, Mr. Surface?
To be sure, madam, that conversation where the spirit of raillery is suppressed will ever appear tedious and insipid.
I'll not debate how far scandal may be allowable, but in a man I am sure it is always contemptible. We have pride, envy, rivalship, and 1,000 motives to depreciate each other. But the male slanderer must have the cowardice of a woman before he can traduce one.
Madam, Mrs. Candour is below, and if your ladyship's at leisure, will leave her carriage.
Beg her to walk in. Now, Maria, here is a character to your taste. For though Mrs. Candour is a little talkative, everybody knows her to be the best-natured and best sort of woman.
Yes, with a very gross affectation of good nature and benevolence. She does more mischief than the direct malice of old Crabtree.
Egad, that's true, Lady Sneerwell. Whenever I hear the current running against the characters of my friends, I never think them in such danger as when Candour undertakes their defence.
Hush, here she is.
My dear Lady Sneerwell, how have you been this century? Mr. Surface, what news do you hear? But indeed it is no matter, for I think one hears nothing else but scandal.
Just so indeed, ma'am.
Oh, Maria, child, what is the whole affair off between you and Charles? His extravagance, I presume. The town talks of nothing else.
I'm very sorry, ma'am, the town has so little to do.
True, child, but there's no stopping people's tongues. I own I was hurt to hear it, as indeed I was to learn from the same quarter that your guardians, Sir Peter and Lady Teazle, have not agreed lately as well as could be wished.
It is strangely impertinent for people to busy themselves so.
Very true, child, but what's to be done? People will talk. There's no preventing it. It was only yesterday that I heard that Miss Gadabout had eloped with Sir Filigree Flirt. But, Lord, there's no minding what one hears, though to be sure I had this from very good authority.
Such reports are highly scandalous.
Oh, so they are, child. Shameful. But the world is so censorious, no character escapes. Lord, now, who would have suspected your friend Miss Prim of an indiscretion? Yet such is the ill nature of people that they say her uncle stopped her last week just as she was stepping into the York mail with her dancing master.
I'll answer for it. There are no grounds for that report.
Oh, no foundation in the world, I dare swear. No more, probably, than for the story circulated last month of Mrs. Festino's affair with Colonel Casino. Though, to be sure, that matter was never rightly cleared up.
The license of invention some people take is monstrous indeed.
It is so. But in my opinion, those who report such things are equally culpable.
To be sure they are. Tale-bearers are just as bad as the tale-makers. 'Tis an old observation and a very true one. But what's to be done? As I said before, how will you prevent people from talking? Today, Mrs. Clackett assured me that Mr. and Mrs. Honeymoon were at last become mere man and wife like the rest of their acquaintance. She likewise hinted that a certain widow in the next street had got rid of her dropsy and recovered her shape in a most surprising manner. And at the same time, Miss Tattle, who was by, affirmed that Lord Buffalo had discovered his lady in a house of no extraordinary fame, and that Sir Harry Bouquet and Tom Saunter were to measure swords upon a similar provocation. But, Lord, you suppose that I would report such things? No, no. As I said before, tale-bearers are just as bad as the tale-makers.
Ah, Mrs. Candour, if everybody had your forbearance and good nature.
I confess, Mr. Surface, I cannot bear to hear people attacked behind their backs. And when ugly circumstances come out against any of our acquaintance, I own I always love to think the best. But I hope it's not true that your brother is absolutely ruined.
I believe his circumstances are very bad indeed, ma'am.
Oh, I heard so. But you must tell him to keep up his spirits. Everybody almost is in the same way. Lord Spindle, Sir Thomas Flint, Captains Quinns, and Mr. Nickett. All up, I hear, within the week. So if Charles is undone, he'll find half his acquaintance ruined too. And that, you know, is a consolation.
Doubtless, ma'am, a very great one.
Mr. Crabtree and Sir Benjamin Backbite.
So, Maria, you see, your lover pursues you. Positively, you shan't escape.
Lady Sneerwell, I kiss your hand. Mrs. Candour.
Mr. Crabtree.
I don't believe that you're acquainted with my nephew, Sir Benjamin Backbite. Egad, he has a pretty wit and is a pretty poet too, isn't he, Lady Sneerwell?
Fie, Uncle.
Egad, it's true. I back him at a rebus or a charade against the best rhymer in the country. Has your ladyship heard the epigram he wrote last week on Lady Frizzle's feather catching fire? Do, Benjamin, repeat it. Oh, the charade you wrote last night extempore at Mrs. Drowsy's conversazione. Oh, come now. Your first is the name of a fish, your second a great name of commander.
Now, prithee.
Faith, ma'am, 'twould surprise you to hear how ready he is at all these sort of things.
I wonder, Sir Benjamin, you never publish anything.
But to say truth, ma'am, 'tis very vulgar to print. And as my little productions are mostly satires and lampoons on particular people, I find they circulate more by giving copies in confidence to the friends of the parties. However, I have some love elegies, which, when favoured with this lady's smiles, I mean to give the public.
By heaven, ma'am, they'll immortalise you. You'll be handed down to posterity like Petrarch's Laura or Waller's Saccharissa.
Oh, yes, madam, I think you will like them, when you shall see them on a beautiful quarto page, where a neat rivulet of text shall meander through a meadow of margin. For gad, they will be the most elegant things of their kind.
That is, that's true. Have you heard the news?
What, sir? Do you mean the report
No,
of the...
ma'am, that's not it.
Oh.
Miss Nicely is going to be married to her own footman.
Impossible.
Ask Sir Benjamin.
No, it is very true, ma'am. Everything is fixed and the wedding liveries bespoke.
Yes, and they do say there were pressing reasons for it.
I have heard something of this before.
It can't be. And I wonder anyone should believe such a story of so prudent a lady as Miss Nicely.
Oh, no, ma'am, that's the very reason 'twas believed at once. She's always been so cautious and so reserved that everybody was sure there was some reason for it at bottom.
Why, to be sure, a tale of scandal is as fatal to a prudent lady of her stamp as a fever is generally to those of the strongest constitution. But this may all be a mistake, for you know, Sir Benjamin, very trifling circumstances often give rise to the most injurious tales.
Oh,
That they do, ma'am, I'll be sworn. Did you hear how Miss Piper came to lose her lover and her character last summer at Tunbridge? Sir Benjamin, you remember it?
To be sure, the most whimsical circumstance.
How was it, pray?
Well, one evening at Mrs. Ponto's assembly, the conversation happened to turn on the breeding of Nova Scotia sheep in this country. So as a young lady in company, I have known instances of it, for Miss Letitia Piper, a first cousin of mine, had a Nova Scotia sheep which produced her twins. What? Cried the Lady Dowager Dundizzy, whose nose as deaf as a post. Has Miss Piper had twins? This mistake, as you may imagine, threw the whole company into a fit of laughter. However, was the next morning everywhere reported, and in a few days believed by the whole town, that Miss Letitia Piper had actually been brought to bed of a fine boy and a girl, and in less than a week there were some people who could name the father and the farmhouse where the babies were put to nurse.
Strange indeed.
Matter of fact, I assure you, Mum. Oh, lad, pray, Mr. Surface, is it true that your Uncle Sir Oliver is coming home?
Not that I know of, indeed, sir.
He's been in the East End a long time. You can scarcely remember him, I believe. So I've comfort whenever he returns, when he hears how your brother has been going on.
Charles may have been imprudent, sir, to be sure, but I hope no busy people have already prejudiced Sir Oliver against him. He may reform.
To be sure he may.
Oh, yes, he may.
For my part, I never believed him to be so utterly void of principle, as people say.
Yet no man lives in greater splendour.
They tell me when he entertains his friends, he will sit down to dinner with a dozen of his own securities, have a score of tradesmen waiting in the antechamber, and an officer behind every guest's chair.
This may be entertainment to you, gentlemen, but you pay very little regard to the feelings of a brother.
Their malice is intolerable. Lady Sneerwell, I must wish you a good morning. I am not very well.
Oh, dear. She changes colour very much.
Do Mrs. Candour follow her. She may need your assistance.
That I will, Mum, with all my soul. Poor dear girl. Who knows what her situation may be?
'Twas nothing but that she could not bear to hear Charles ill spoken of, notwithstanding their difference.
The young lady's penchant is obvious.
But, nephew, you must not give up the pursuit for that. Follow her and put her in a good humour. Repeat her some of your verses. Come, I'll assist you.
Mr. Surface, I did not mean to hurt you, but dependant, your brother's utterly undone.
Oh, lad, I undone as ever a man was. Can't raise a guinea.
And everything sold, I'm told, that was movable.
I have seen one that was at his house, not a thing there, but some empty bottles that were overlooked, and the family pictures, which I believe are framed to the wainscot.
And I'm very sorry also to hear some bad stories against him.
Oh, he has done many mean things, that's certain.
But however, as he's your brother...
We will tell you all.
Another opportunity.
'Tis very hard for them to leave a subject they've not quite run down.
And I believe the abuse was no more acceptable to your ladyship than to Maria.
I doubt her affections are further engaged than we imagine. But the family are to be here this evening, so you may as well dine where you are, and we shall have an opportunity of observing further. In the meantime, I'll go and plot mischief, and you shall study sentiment.
The same morning, Sir Peter Teazle appears in the street, walking towards his handsome house. He is reading a newspaper, but he does not care for what he finds reported there.
When an old bachelor marries a young wife, what is he to expect? 'Tis now 6 months since Lady Teazle made me the happiest of men. I've been the most miserable dog ever since. We tiffed a little, going to church, and came to a quarrel before the bells had done ringing. I was more than once nearly choked with gall during the honeymoon, and had lost all comfort in life before my friends had done wishing me joy. Yet I chose with caution. A girl bred wholly in the country, who never knew luxury beyond one silk gown, nor dissipation beyond the annual gala of a race ball. Yet she now plays her part in all the extravagant fopperies of fashion and the town with as ready a grace as if she'd never seen a bush or a grass plot out of Grosvenor Square. I am sneered at by all my acquaintance and paragraphed in the newspapers. She dissipates my fortune and contradicts all my humours. Yet, the worst of it is, I doubt I love her, or I'd never bear all this. However, I'll never be weak enough to own it.
Ah, Sir Peter, your servant. How is it with you, sir?
Very bad, Master Rowley, very bad. I meet with nothing but crosses and vexations.
Why, what can have happened since yesterday?
A good question to a married man.
Nay, Sir Peter, I'm sure your lady can't be the cause of your uneasiness.
Why, Has anybody told you she was dead?
Oh, come, Sir Peter. You love her. Notwithstanding your tempers don't exactly agree.
But the fault is entirely hers, Master Rowley. I am myself the sweetest-tempered man alive, and hate a teasing temper, and so I tell her 100 times a day.
Indeed.
Aye, and what's very extraordinary, in all our disputes, she is always in the wrong. But Lady Sneerwell and the set she meets at her house encourage the perverseness of her disposition. Then, to complete my vexation, Maria, my ward, whom I ought to have the power of a father over, is determined to turn rebel too, and absolutely refuses the man I've long resolved on for a husband, meaning, I suppose, to bestow herself on his profligate brother.
You know, Sir Peter, I've always taken the liberty to differ with you on the subject of these two young gentlemen. I only wish you may not be deceived in your opinion of the elder. For Charles, my life aunt, he'll retrieve his errors yet. Their worthy father, once my honoured master, was at his years almost as wild a spark. Yet when he died, he did not leave a more benevolent heart to lament his loss.
You're wrong, Master Rowley. On their father's death, you know, I acted as a kind of guardian to them both until their Uncle Oliver's liberality gave them an early independence. Of course, no one could have more opportunity of judging their hearts, and I was never mistaken in my life. Joseph is indeed a model for the young men of the age. He's a man of sentiment and acts up to the sentiments he professes. But for the other, my life aunt, if he had any grain of virtue by descent, he's dissipated it with the rest of his inheritance. Ah, my old friend Sir Oliver will be deeply mortified when he finds how part of his bounty has been misapplied.
I'm sorry to find you so violent against the young man, for this may be the most critical period of his fortune. I came hither with news that will surprise you.
What? Let me hear.
Sir Oliver has arrived, and at this moment in town.
How? I thought you didn't expect him this month.
I did not, but his passage was remarkably quick.
Oh, I faith I shall rejoice to see my old friend again. Oh, 'tis 15 years since we met. We've had many a day together. But does he still enjoin us not to inform his nephews of his arrival?
Most strictly. He means, before it is known, to make some trial of their dispositions.
There needs no art to discover their merits. However, he shall have his way. But pray, does he know I am married?
Yes, and will shortly wish you joy.
What, as we drink health to a friend in consumption? Oliver will laugh at me. We used to rail at matrimony together, but he has been steady to his text. But he must shortly be at my house, though. I'll instantly give orders for his reception. But, Master Rowley, don't drop a word Lady Teazle and I ever disagree.
By no means.
But I'd never be able to stand Noel's jokes, so I'd have him think, Lord forgive me, that we're a very happy couple.
I understand you. But then, you must be very careful not to differ while he's in the house with you.
Egad, and so we must, and that's impossible. Ah, Master Rowley, when an old bachelor marries a young wife, he deserves to... No, the crime carries its punishment along with it.
In the hall of Sir Peter's house, Lady Teazle, carrying a bunch of flowers, comes quickly down the stairs, dressed for Lady Sneerwell's party. But Sir Peter, carrying a sheaf of bills in his hand, suddenly emerges from his study and intercepts her.
Lady Teazle, I'll not bear it.
Sir Peter, you may bear it or not as you please, but I ought to have my own way in everything, and what's more, I will, too. What though I was educated in the country, I know very well that women of fashion in London are accountable to nobody after they are married.
Well, ma'am, very well, so a husband is to have no influence, no authority.
Authority? No, to be sure. If you wanted authority over me, you should have adopted me and not married me. I'm sure you're old enough.
Old enough, aye, there it is. Well, Lady Teazle, though my life may be made unhappy by your temper, I'll not be ruined by your extravagance.
My extravagance? I am sure I am not more extravagant than a woman of fashion ought to be.
No, ma'am, you shall throw away no more sums on such unmeaning luxuries. to spend as much to furnish your dressing room with flowers in winter as would suffice to turn the Pantheon into a greenhouse and give a fete champêtre at Christmas.
And am I to blame, Sir Peter, because flowers are dear in cold weather? You should find fault with the climate, not with me. For my part, I am sure I wish it was spring all the year round, and that roses grew under our feet.
Bones, madam, if you'd been born to this, I wouldn't wonder at your talking thus. But you forget what your situation was when I married you.
No, I don't. It was a very disagreeable one, or I should never have married you.
Yes, ma'am, you were then in somewhat a humbler style, the daughter of a plain country squire. Recollect, Lady Teazle, when I saw you first, sitting at your tambour, in a pretty figured linen gown, a bunch of keys by your side, your hair combed smooth over a roll, and your apartment hung round with fruits in worsted of your own working.
Oh, yes, I remember it very well. And a curious life I led. My daily occupation to inspect the dairy, superintend the poultry, make extracts from the family receipt book, and comb my Aunt Deborah's lapdog.
Ah, ma'am, 'twas so indeed.
And then, my evening amusements, to make patterns for ruffles, which I had not the materials to make up, to play Cope Joan with the curate, to read a sermon to my aunt, or to be stuck down to an old spinet to strum my father to sleep after a fox chase.
I'm glad you have so good a memory. Yes, madam, these were the recreations I took you from, but now you must have your coach vis-à-vis, 3 powdered footmen before your chair, and in the summer a pair of white cats to draw you to Kensington Gardens. No recollection, I suppose, when you were content to ride double behind the butler on a docked coach horse?
No, I swear I never did that. I deny the butler and the coach horse.
This, madam, was your situation. What have I done for you? I've made you a woman of fashion, of fortune, of rank. In short, I have made you my wife.
Well, then, and there is but one thing more you can make me to add to the obligation. That is...
my widow, I suppose. I thank you, madam. But don't flatter yourself, though your ill conduct may disturb my peace of mind. It shall never break my heart, I promise you. However, I'm equally obliged to you for the hint.
Then why will you endeavour to make yourself so disagreeable to me, and thwart me in every little elegant expense?
Life, and I say, had you any of these little elegant expenses when you married me?
Lud, Sir Peter, would you have me be out of the fashion?
Fashion, indeed. What had you to do with the fashion before you married me?
For my part, I should think you would like to have your wife thought a woman of taste.
There again, Zoons, taste. Madam, you had no taste when you married me.
Oh, that's very true indeed, Sir Peter. And after having married you, I should never pretend to taste again, I allow. But now, Sir Peter, since we have finished our daily jangle, I presume I may go to my engagement at Lady Sneerwell's.
Aye, there's another precious circumstance. A charming set of acquaintance you've made there.
Nay, Sir Peter, they are all people of rank and fortune, and remarkably tenacious of reputation.
They gather tenacious of reputation with a vengeance. They don't choose anyone should have a character but themselves. Such a crew. Ah, many a wretch has rid on a hurdle who's done less mischief than those utterers of forged tales, coiners of scandal, and clippers of reputation.
What, would you restrain the freedom of speech?
They've made you just as bad as any one of the society.
Why, I believe I do bear a part with a tolerable grace.
Grace, indeed.
But I vow I bear no malice against the people I abuse. When I say an ill-natured thing, 'tis out of pure good humour. And I take it for granted they deal exactly in the same manner with me. But, Sir Peter, you know you promised to come to Lady Sneerwell's, too.
Well, I'll call in just to look after my own character.
Then indeed you must make haste after me, or you'll be too late. So goodbye to ye.
So, I've gained much by my intended expostulation. Yet, with what a charming air. She contradicts everything I say. How pleasingly she shows her contempt for my authority. Well, if I can't make her love me, there's great satisfaction in quarrelling with her. I think she never appears to such advantage as when she's doing everything in her power to plague me.
In Lady Sneerwell's drawing-room, Joseph Surface and her other scandalous friends are sitting with her, drinking tea and waiting for the arrival of the Teazles. Come.
Positively, we will hear it.
Yes, the epigram, by all means.
Oh, pray do, nephew.
Oh, plague on't, uncle. 'Tis mere nonsense.
No, egad, is very excellent for an extempore.
But, ladies, you should be acquainted with the circumstance. You must know that one day last week, as Lady Betty Curricle was taking the dust in Hyde Park, in a sort of duo decimo fashion, she desired me to write some verses on her ponies, upon which I took out my pocketbook and in one moment produced the following. Sure never were seen two such beautiful ponies. Other horses are clowns, but these macaronis. To give them this title, I'm sure can't be wrong. Their legs are so slim, and their tails are so long.
There, lady, having the smack of a whip and on horseback, too.
A very Phoebus mounted, indeed, Sir Benjamin.
Oh, dear sir, trifles.
I must have a copy. Lady Teazle, I hope we shall see Sir Peter.
I believe he'll wait on your ladyship presently.
Maria, my love, you look grave. Come, you shall sit down to piquet with Mr. Surface.
I take very little pleasure in cards. However, I will do as your ladyship pleases.
I'm surprised Mr. Surface should sit down with her. I thought he would have embraced this opportunity of speaking to me before Sir Peter came.
Now, you're so scandalous, I'll forswear your society.
What's the matter, Mrs. Candour?
They'll not allow our friend Miss Vermillion to be handsome.
Oh, surely she's a pretty woman.
Well, I'm very glad you think so, ma'am.
She has a charming, fresh colour.
Yes, when it is fresh put on.
Oh, fine. I'll swear her colour is natural. I've seen it come and go.
I dare swear you have, ma'am. It goes off at night and comes again in the morning.
True, madam, it not only comes and goes, but what's more, egad, her maid can fetch and carry it.
How I hate to hear you talk so. But surely now her sister is, or was, very handsome.
Oh, Mrs. Evergreen, oh, Lord, she's 6 and 50 if she's an hour.
Oh, positively you're wrong. Her 52 or 53 is the utmost. And I don't think she looks more.
Ah, there's no judging by her looks unless one could see her face.
Well, if Mrs. Evergreen does take some pains to repair the ravages of time, you must allow she effects it with great ingenuity. And surely that's better than the careless manner in which the widow Ochre caulks her wrinkles.
Nay, now, Lady Snowell, you are severe upon the widow. Come. 'Tis not that she paints so ill, but when she's finished her face, she joins it on so badly to her neck that she looks like a mended statue, in which the connoisseur may see at once that the head is modern, though the trunk's antique.
Well said, nephew.
Well, you make me laugh, but I vow I hate you for it. What do you think of Miss Simper?
Why, she has very pretty teeth.
Yes, and on that account, when she is neither speaking nor laughing, which very seldom happens, she never absolutely shuts her mouth, but leaves it always on ajar, as it were thus. Oh.
How can you be so ill-natured?
Nay, I allow even that's better than the pains Mrs. Prim takes in concealing her lushes in front. She draws her mouth till it positively resembles the aperture of a porridge box, and all her words seem to slide out edgewise, as it were thus. How do you do, madam? Yes, madam.
Very well, Lady Teazle. I see you can be a little severe.
In defence of a friend, it is but justice. But here comes Sir Peter to spoil our pleasantry.
Ladies, you're most obedient. Mercy on my life, here's the whole pack. A character dead at every word, I suppose.
I rejoice you are come, Sir Peter. They've been so censorious, and Lady Teazle as bad as anyone.
That must be very distressing to you, madam, I dare swear.
Oh, they'll allow good qualities to no one, not even good nature to our friend Mrs. Percy.
What? The fat dowager who was at Mrs. Quadrill's last night?
Nay, her bulk is her misfortune. And when she takes so much pains to get rid of it, you ought not to reflect on her.
That's very true indeed.
Yes, I know she almost lives on acids and small whey, laces herself with pulleys. And often in the hottest noon in summer, you may see her on a little squat pony with her hair plaited up behind like a drummer's and puffing round the ring on a full trot.
I thank you, Lady Teazle, for defending her.
Yes, a good defence, truly.
Truly, Lady Teazle is as censorious as Miss Sallow.
Yes, and she's a curious being to pretend to be censorious and awkward gawky without any one good point on her.
Positively, you shall not be so very severe. Miss Sallow is a near relation of mine. by marriage. And as for her person, great allowance is to be made. For let me tell you, a woman labours under many disadvantages who tries to pass for a girl at 36.
Though surely she's handsome still. And for the weakness in her eyes, considering how much she reads by candlelight, is not to be wondered at.
True. And then as to her manner, upon my word, I think it is particularly graceful, considering that she never had the least education. For you know her mother was a Welsh milliner, and her father a sugar baker at Bristol.
Ah, you're both of you too good-natured.
Yes, damn good-natured. This their own relation, mercy on me.
I own I cannot bear to hear a friend ill-spoken of.
No, I'll be sworn.
Well, I will never join in ridiculing a friend, and so I constantly tell my cousin Ogle, and you all know what pretensions she has to be critical on beauty.
To be sure, she has herself the oddest countenance that ever was seen. 'Tis a collection of features from all the different countries of the globe.
So she has indeed. An Irish front,
Caledonian locks,
Dutch nose,
Austrian lips,
complexion of a Spaniard,
and teeth a la chinoise.
In short, her face resembles a table d'hote at Spa, where no two guests are of a nation.
Or a congress at the close of a general war, wherein all the members, even to her eyes, appear to have a different interest, and her nose and chin are the only parties likely to join issue.
Mercy on my life, a person they dine with twice a week.
Go, you're a couple of provoking toads.
David, I vow you shall not carry off the laugh so. Forgive me leave to say that Mrs. Ogle...
Madam, I beg your pardon. There's no stopping these good gentlemen's tongues, but when I tell you, Mrs. Candour, the lady they're abusing is a particular friend of mine, I hope you'll not take her part.
Well said, Sir Peter. Well, you are a cruel creature. Too phlegmatic yourself for a jest, and too peevish to allow wit in others.
Ah, madam, true wit is more nearly allied to good nature than your ladyship is aware of.
True, Sir Peter. I believe they are so near akin that they can never be united.
Or rather, suppose them man and wife, because one seldom sees them together.
But Sir Peter is such an enemy to scandal. I believe he would have it put down by Parliament.
For heaven, madam, if they were to consider the sporting with reputation of as much importance as poaching on manors, and pass an act for the preservation of fame as well as game, I believe many would thank them for the bill.
Lud, Sir Peter, would you deprive us of our privileges?
Aye, madam, that no person should be permitted to kill character or run down reputation, but qualified old maids and disappointed widows.
Go, you monster!
But surely you would not be so very severe on those who only report what they hear?
For my part, I believe there never was a scandalous story without some foundation.
Come, ladies, shall we go to cards in the next room?
I'll get away unperceived.
Sir Peter, you're not going to leave us.
Your ladyship must excuse me. I'm called away by particular business, but I leave my character behind me.
Well... Certainly, Lady Teazle, that lord of yours is a strange being. I could tell you some stories of him that would make you laugh heartily if he were not your husband.
Oh, pray don't mind that. Come, do let's hear them.
Oh, yes. Well, the first... Maria, I see you have no satisfaction in this society.
How is it possible I should? If to raise malicious smiles at the infirmities or misfortunes of those who have never injured us be the province of wit or humour, heaven grant me a double portion of dullness.
Yet they appear more ill-natured than they are. They have no malice at heart.
Then is their conduct still more contemptible? For in my opinion, nothing could excuse the intemperance of their tongues, but a natural and uncontrollable bitterness of mind.
Undoubtedly, madam. And it has always been a sentiment of mine that to propagate a malicious truth wantonly is more despicable than to falsify from revenge. But can you, Maria, feel thus for others and be unkind to me alone? Is hope to be denied the tenderest passion?
Why will you distress me by renewing this subject?
Ah, Maria, you would not treat me thus and oppose your guardian Sir Peter's will, but that I see that profligate Charles is still a favoured rival.
Ungenerously urged. But whatever my sentiments are for that unfortunate young man, be assured I shall not feel more bound to give him up, because his distresses have lost him the regard even of a brother.
Nay, but Maria, do not leave me with a frown. By all that's honest, I swear... Gad's life, here's Lady Teazle. You must not know, you shall not, for though I have the greatest regard for Lady Teazle...
Lady Teazle?
Yet were Sir Peter to suspect...
What is this, pray? Do you take her for me? Child, you are wanted in the next room. What is all this, pray?
Oh, the most unlucky circumstance in nature. Maria has somehow suspected the tender concern I have for your happiness, and has threatened to acquaint Sir Peter with her suspicions, and I was just endeavouring to reason with her when you came in.
Indeed? But you seem to adopt a very tender mode of reasoning. Do you usually argue on your knees?
Oh, she's a child, and I thought a little bombast, but... Lady Teazle, when are you to give me your judgment on my library, as you promised?
No, no. I begin to think it would be imprudent. And you know I admit you as a lover, no farther than fashion requires.
Oh, a mere platonic cicisbeo, what every wife is entitled to.
Certainly, one must not be out of the fashion. However, I have so many of my country prejudices left that though Sir Peter's ill humour may vex me ever so, it never shall provoke me to...
The only revenge in your power. Well, I applaud your moderation.
Go. You are an insinuating wretch. But we shall be missed. Let us join the company.
But we had best not return together.
Well, don't stay, for Maria shan't come to hear any more of your reasoning. I promise you.
A curious dilemma, truly, my politics have run me into. I wanted at first only to ingratiate myself with Lady Teazle, that she might not be my enemy with Maria. And I have, I don't know how, become her serious lover. Yes, sincerely, I begin to wish that I had never made such a point of gaining so very good a character. For it has led me into so many cursed rogueries that I doubt I shall be exposed at last. In the street outside Sir Peter's house, Rowley, the steward, brings Sir Oliver, just returned from the East Indies, to meet his old friend Sir Peter and to hear news of his two nephews.
So my old friend has married a young wife out of the country. To think he should have stood bluff to old bachelor so long and sink into a husband at last.
But you must not rally him on the subject, Sir Oliver. 'Tis a tender point, I assure you. Though he's been married only 7 months.
Then he's been just half a year on the stool of repentance. Poor Peter. But you say he's entirely given up Charles. Never sees him.
His prejudice against him is astonishing, and, I'm sure, greatly increased by a jealousy of him with Lady Teazle, which he's industriously been led into by a scandalous society in the neighbourhood who have contributed not a little to Charles's ill name. Whereas the truth is, I believe, if the lady is partial to either of them, his brother is the favourite.
Oh, I know there are a set of malicious, prating, prudent gossips, both male and female, who murder characters to kill time, and would rob a young man of his good name before he had years to know the value of it. But I don't intend to be prejudiced against my nephew by such as these, I promise you. No, no. If Charles has done nothing false or mean, I shall compound for his extravagance.
And my life aunt you'll reclaim him. Ah, sir, it gives me new life to find that your heart is not turned against him, and that the son of my good old master has one friend, however left.
What? Shall I forget Master Rowley when I was at his years myself? Gad, my brother and I were neither of us very prudent youths. And yet I believe you didn't know many better men than your old master was.
Sir, 'tis this reflection gives me assurance that Charles may yet be a credit to his family. Oh, here comes Sir Peter.
Gad, so he does. Mercy on me, he is greatly altered. He seems to have a settled, married look. One can read husband in his face at this distance.
Ah, Sir Oliver, my old friend, welcome, welcome to England 1,000 times.
Thank you, Sir Peter. And if faith I'm glad to find you well, believe me.
Oh, it's a long time since we met, 15 years, I doubt, Sir Oliver, and many a cross accident in the time.
Aye, I've had my share. But what? I find you are married, eh, me old boy? Oh, well, can't be helped. And so, I wish you joy with all my heart.
Thank you, Sir Oliver. Yes, I've entered into the happy state. But we'll not talk of that now.
True, Sir Peter. Old friends should not begin on grievances at first meeting. No.
Take care, sir, pray.
What? Oh, so I hear one of my nephews is a wild rogue, eh?
Wild? Oh, my old friend, I grieve for your disappointment there. He's a lost young man indeed. However, his brother will make you amends. Joseph is indeed all that a youth should be. Everyone in the world speaks well of him.
I'm sorry to hear it. He's too good a character to be an honest fella. Everybody speaks well of him, bah. And he's bowed as low to knaves and fools as he has to the honest dignity of genius and virtue.
What, Sir Oliver, would you blame him for not making enemies?
Yes, if he has merit enough to deserve them.
Well, you'll be convinced when you know him. It is edification to hear him converse. He professes the noblest sentiments.
A plague on his sentiments. If he greets me with a scrap of morality in his mouth, I shall be sick directly. But, however, don't mistake me, Sir Peter, I don't mean to defend Charles' errors. But before I form my judgment of either of them, I intend to make a trial of their hearts. And my old friend Rowley and I have planned something for the purpose.
And Sir Peter shall own, for once he's been mistaken.
My life on Joseph's honour.
Well, come, give us a bottle of good wine and we'll drink the lad's health and tell you our scheme.
Hello, then.
And don't, Sir Peter, be so severe against your old friend's son. Odds my life, I'm not sorry to see him run out of the course a little. For my part, I hate to see prudence clinging to the green suckers of youth. 'Tis like ivy round a sapling. It spoils the growth of the tree.
The men pass into the hall of Sir Peter's house and settle down cosily before the fire.
Well, then we'll see this fellow first and have our wine after. But how is this, Sir Oliver? I don't see the gist of your scheme.
Why, this Mr. Stanley, who we've just been speaking of, is nearly related to them by their mother, and he's been ruined by a series of undeserved misfortunes. He's applied by letter both to Joseph and to Charles. From the former he's received nothing but evasive promises, whilst Charles has done everything that his extravagance has left him power to do.
But how are you personally?
Why, as neither of them know this Mr. Stanley, let me assume his character. At least it will give me an opportunity of judging the benevolence of their disposition.
Well, make the trial if you please. But where is this fellow who you brought for Sir Oliver to examine relative to Charles' affairs?
Below, waiting his commands, and no one can give him better intelligence. This Sir Oliver is a friendly Jew, who, to do him justice, has done everything in his power to bring your nephew to a proper sense of his extravagance.
Pray, let's have him in.
Desire Mr. Moses to walk upstairs. I've also detected Mr. Snake in a matter a little short of forgery, and shall shortly produce him to remove some of your prejudices, Sir Peter, relative to Charles and Lady Teazle.
I've heard too much on that subject.
Here comes the honest Israelite. Sir, I hear you've lately had great dealings with my nephew Charles.
Yes, Sir Oliver. I have done all I could for him, but he was ruined before he came to me for assistance.
Oh, that was unlucky, truly. For you had no opportunity of showing your talent.
None at all. I hadn't the pleasure of knowing his distresses till he was some thousands worse than nothing.
Unfortunate indeed. However, I suppose you did all in your power for him, honest Moses.
Oh, yes, he knows that. This very evening I was to have brought him a gentleman from the city who does not know him, but who will, I believe, advance him some moneys.
What? One Charles has never had money from before?
Yes. A Mr. Premium of Crutched Friars, formerly a broker.
Gets, Oliver, a thought strikes me. Charles, you say, doesn't know Mr. Premium?
Not at all.
Now, Sir Oliver, you may have a better opportunity of satisfying yourself than by any old romancing tale of a poor relation. Go with my friend Moses and represent Premium, and then I'll answer for it. You'll see your nephew in all his glory.
Egad, I like this idea better than the first. And then I may visit Joseph afterwards as old Stanley.
True, so you may.
Oh, but this is taking Charles rather at a disadvantage, to be sure. However, Moses, you understand Sir Peter, and will be faithful.
Oh, you may depend upon me. Well, this is near the time I was to have gone.
Well, I'll accompany you as soon as you please, Moses. Oh, but hold. I forgot one thing. How the plague shall I pass for a Jew?
There's no need. This Mr. Premium is a Christian.
Is he? Oh, I'm sorry to hear it. But then again, ain't I rather too smartly dressed for a moneylender?
Not at all. Wouldn't be out of character if you went in your own carriage, would it, Moses?
Not in the least.
Yes, but how do I talk? There must be some cant of usury, some mode of treating I ought to know.
Oh, there's not much to learn. The great point, I take it, is to be exorbitant enough in your demands. Eh, Moses?
Oh, that's a very great point.
Well, I'll answer for it. I'll not be wanting in that. I'll ask him 8 or 10% on the loan at least.
If you ask him no more than that, you'll be discovered immediately.
What the plague? Well, how much then?
Well, that depends upon the circumstances. If he appears not very anxious for the supply, you should require only 40 or 50%. But if he seems in great distress and wants the monies very bad, you may ask double.
A good honest trade you're learning, Sir Oliver.
Truly, I think so. And not unprofitable.
And then, you know, you haven't the monies yourself, but are forced to borrow them for him off a friend.
Oh, I borrow it off a friend, do I?
And your friend is an unconscionable dog.
And my friend is an unconscionable dog.
Oh, but you can't help that.
Well, no, of course I can't help that.
And he himself has not the monies by him, but is forced to sell stock at a great loss.
Oh, he sells stock at a great loss, does he? Well, now, that's very kind of him.
Ah, faith, Sir Oliver, Mr. Premium, I mean, you'll soon be master of the trade.
So, Moses shall instruct me further as we go together.
Well, you'll not have much time, for your nephew lives hard by.
Never fear. My tutor appears so able that though Charles lived in the next street, it must be my own fault if I'm not a complete rogue before I turn the corner.
Well, now I think Sir Oliver will be convinced you are partial, Rowley, and would have prepared Charles for the other plot.
No, upon my word, Sir Peter.
Well, go fetch me this snake. I'll hear what he has to say presently. I see Maria and wish to talk with her. I should be glad to be convinced my suspicions of Charles and Lady Teazle were unjust. I've not yet opened my mind on this subject to my friend Joseph. I'm determined to do it. He'll give me his opinion sincerely. Well, child, has Mr. Surface returned with you?
No, sir. He was, engaged.
Well, Maria, do you not reflect, the more you converse with that amiable young man, what return his partiality for you deserves?
Indeed, Sir Peter, your frequent importunity on this subject distresses me extremely. You compel me to declare that I know no man who has ever paid me a particular attention whom I would not prefer to Mr. Surface.
So here's perverseness. No, Maria, it is Charles only whom you would prefer. It is evident his vices and follies have won your heart.
This is unkind, sir. You know I have obeyed you in neither seeing nor corresponding with him. I have heard enough to convince me that he is unworthy my regard. But I cannot think it culpable if, while my understanding severely condemns his vices, my heart suggests some pity for his distresses.
Well, pity him as much as you please, but give your hand and your heart to a worthier object.
Never to his brother.
Go, perverse and obstinate. But take care, madam. You've never yet learned what the authority of a guardian is. Do not compel me to inform you of it.
I can only say you shall not have just reason. 'Tis true, by my father's will, I am for a short period bound to regard you as his substitute, but must cease to think you so, when you would compel me to be miserable.
Was ever a man so plagued as I am? Everything conspiring to cross me. I've not been involved in matrimony above a fortnight before her father, a hale and hearty man, died on purpose, I believe, for the pleasure of plaguing me with the care of his daughter. Here comes my helpmate. She appears in rare good humor. Oh, how happy I would be if I could tease her into loving me, though but a little.
Sir Peter, I hope you haven't been quarrelling with Maria. It is not using me well to be ill-humoured when I am not by.
Ah, Lady Teazle, you might have the power to make me good-humoured at all times.
I am sure I wish I had, for I want you to be in a charming, sweet temper at this moment. Do be good-humoured now and let me have £200, will you?
£200? What? Ain't I to be in a good humour without paying for it? But speak to me thus, and in faith there's nothing I could refuse you. You shall have it. But seal me a bond for the repayment.
Oh, no, there, my note of hand will do as well.
Well, you shall no longer reproach me for not giving you an independent settlement. I mean shortly to surprise you. But shall we always live thus? Hey?
If you please. For my part, I am sure I don't care how soon we leave off quarrelling, provided you'll own you were tired first.
Well, let our future contest be who shall be most obliging.
I assure you, Sir Peter, good nature becomes you. You look now as you did before we were married, when you used to walk with me under the elms and tell me stories of what a gallant you were in your youth, and chuck me under the chin you would, and ask me if I thought I could love an old fellow who would deny me nothing, didn't you?
And you were as kind and obliging.
Aye, so I was, and would always take your part when my acquaintance used to abuse you and turn you into ridicule.
Indeed?
Aye. And when my cousin Sophie has called you a stiff, peevish old bachelor and laughed at me for thinking of marrying one who might be my father, I have always defended you and said I didn't think you so ugly by any means, and that you'd make a very good sort of a husband.
And you prophesied right, and we shall now be the happiest couple.
And never differ again.
No, never. Though, at the same time, indeed, my dear Lady Teazle, you must watch your temper very seriously. For in all our little quarrels, my dear, if you recollect, my love, you always began first.
I beg your pardon, my dear Sir Peter. Indeed, you always gave the provocation.
Now, see, my angel, take care. Contradicting isn't the way to keep friends.
Then don't you begin it, my love.
Then you are going on, you don't perceive. My life, you are just doing the very thing which, you know, always makes me angry.
Nay, if you will be angry without any reason, my dear.
Then now you want to quarrel again.
No, I'm sure I don't, but if you will be so peevish.
Then now who begins first?
Why, you, to be sure. I said nothing, but there's no bearing your temper.
Now remember, the fault's in your own temper.
Aye, you are just what my cousin Sophie said you would be.
Your cousin Sophie's a forward, impertinent gypsy.
And you are a great bear, I am sure, to abuse my relations.
Now all the plagues of marriage be doubled on me if I ever try to be friends with you anymore.
So much the better.
No, it's evident you never cared a pin for me. I was a madman to marry you. A pert, rural coquette who refused half the honest squires in the neighbourhood.
And I'm sure I was a fool to marry you, an old dangling bachelor who was single at 50 only because he never could meet with anyone who would have him.
You were pleased enough to listen to me. You never had such an offer before.
No. Didn't I refuse Sir Tivy Terrier, who everybody said would have been a better match, for his estate is just as good as yours, and he has broke his neck since we have been married.
I'm done with you, madam. You're unfeeling, ungrateful, but there's an end of everything. I believe you're capable of everything that's bad. Yes, madam, I now believe the reports relative to you and Charles, madam. Yes, madam, you and Charles are not without ground.
Take care, Sir Peter. You had better not insinuate any such thing. I'll not be suspected without cause, I promise you.
Well, a separate maintenance as soon as you please. Or a divorce. Yes, madam, a divorce. I'll make an example of myself for the benefit of all old bachelors. Let us separate, madam.
Agreed. And now, my dear Sir Peter, we are of a mind once more. We may be the happiest couple and never differ again, you know. But you are going to be in a passion, I see, and I shall only interrupt you. So bye-bye.
Plagues and tortures! Can't I make her angry either? Oh, I'm the most miserable fellow. But I'll not bear her presuming to keep her temper. No, she may break my heart, but she shall keep her temper!
Charles Surface's hospitality is lavish, but his house has been stripped of everything that could possibly be sold. Sir Oliver and Moses approach the house, but are stopped outside the front door by the manservant, Trip.
Here, Master Moses.
A broker to see Mr. Charles.
If you'll stay a moment, I'll try whether... what's the gentleman's name?
Psst. Mr. Moses, what is my name?
Mr. Premium.
Oh, yes. Mr. Premium.
Premium. Very well.
To judge by the servant, one wouldn't believe the master was ruined. But what? Why, yes, this was my brother's house.
Yes, sir. Mr. Charles bought it of Mr. Joseph with the furniture, pictures, etc., just as the old gentleman left it. Sir Peter thought it a piece of extravagance in him.
To my mind, the other's economy in selling it to him was more reprehensible by half.
My master says you must wait, gentlemen. He has company and can't speak with you yet.
Perhaps if he knew who it was who wanted to speak to him, he wouldn't send such a message.
Yes, sir. He knows you are here. I did not forget little Premium. No.
And pray, sir, what may your name be?
Tripp, sir. The name is Tripp, at your service.
Well then, Mr. Tripp, you have a pleasant sort of place here, I guess.
Why, yes, there are 3 or 4 of us pass our time agreeably enough.
Oh.
But then our wages are sometimes a little in arrear, and not very great either, but £50 a year and find our own bags and bouquets.
Bags and bouquets, halters and bastinados.
And apropos, Moses, have you been able to get me that little bill discounted?
Wants to borrow money too. Mercy on me. Has his distresses too, I warrant, like a lord, and affects creditors and duns.
'Twas not to be done indeed, Mr. Tripp. Good lack, you surprise me. My friend Brush has endorsed it, and I thought when he put his name at the back of a bill, 'twas the same as cash.
No, it wouldn't do.
A small sum, but £20. Harkee, Moses, do you think you couldn't get it me by way of annuity?
An annuity? A footman raised money by way of an annuity. Well done, luxury again.
You must insure your place.
Oh, with all my heart I'll insure my place, and my life too, if you please.
It's more than I would your neck.
But is there nothing you could deposit?
Well, nothing capital of my master's wardrobe has dropped lately, but I could give you a mortgage on some of his winter clothes, with equity of redemption before November, or you shall have a reversion on the French velvet, or a post-obit on the blue and silver. These, I should think, Moses, with a few pairs of point ruffles as a collateral security, eh, my little fellow?
Well.
Egad, I heard the bell. I think, gentlemen, I can now introduce you. Don't forget the annuity, little Moses. This way, gentlemen. I'll insure my place, you know.
If the man be a shadow of the master, this is the very temple of dissipation indeed.
For heaven, 'tis true! There's the great degeneracy of the age. Many of our acquaintance have taste, spirit, and politeness, but plague on they won't drink.
'Tis so indeed, Charles. They give in to all the substantial luxuries of the table and abstain from nothing but wine and wit.
Aye, certainly society suffers by it intolerably.
For now, instead of the social spirit of raillery that used to mantle over a glass of bright burgundy, their conversation has become just like the spa water they drink, which is all the pertness and flatulency of champagne without its spirit or flavour.
But what are they to do who love play better than wine?
Oh. True! There's Sir Harry diets himself for gaming, and is now under a hazard regimen.
Then he'll have the worst of it. What? You wouldn't train a horse for the course by keeping him from corn? For my part, egad, I'm never so successful as when I'm a little merry. Let me throw on a bottle of champagne and I never lose. Well, at least I never feel my losses, which is exactly the same thing.
Aye, that's I believe.
And then, what man can pretend to be a believer in love who is an abjurer of wine?
True.
It is the test by which the lover knows his own heart. Fill a dozen bumpers to a dozen beauties, and she that floats atop is the maid that has bewitched you.
Now then, Charles, be honest. Tell us your real favourite.
I have withheld her only in compassion to you. But if I toast her, you must give a round of her peers, which is impossible on earth.
Oh, then we'll find some canonized vestals or heathen goddesses that'll do, I warrant.
Well then, bumpers, you rogues, bumpers. Maria.
Maria who?
Oh, damn the surname. It's too formal to be registered in love's calendar. And now, Sir Harry, beware. We must have beauty superlative.
Nay, never study, Sir Harry. We'll stand to the toast, though your mistress should want an eye. And you know you have a song will excuse you.
Egad, and so I have.
Nay, then give us the song instead of the lady.
Aye, give us a song.
Here's to the maiden of bashful 15. Here's to the widow of 50. Here's to the flaunting, extravagant queen. And here's to the hussy that's thrifty. Let the toast pass, drink to the lass. I'll warrant she'll prove an excuse for a glass. Here's to the charmer whose dimples we prize.
Now to the maid who has none, sir.
Here's to the girl with a pair of blue eyes.
And here's to the nymph with but one, sir.
Let the toast pass, drink to the lass. I warrant she'll prove an excuse for a glass. Here's to the maid with a bosom of snow. Now to her that's as brown as a berry. Here's to the wife with a face full of woe. And here's to the damsel that's merry. Let the toast pass, drink to the lass. I warrant she'll prove an excuse for a glass. For let 'em be clumsy or let 'em be slim. young or ancient, I care not a feather. So fill a pint bumper, nay, fill to the brim, and let's us him toast them together. Let the toast pass, drink to the last, I warrant she'll prove an excuse for a glass. Gentlemen, you must excuse me a little careless. Take the chair, will you?
Pretty, Charles, what now? Oh, this is one of your peerless beauties, I suppose, dropped in by chance.
No, faith, to tell you the truth, 'tis a Jew and a broker who are come by appointment.
Oh, damn it, let's have the Jew in.
I am the broker too, by all means.
Yes, the Jew and the broker.
Egad, with all my heart. Trip, bid the gentlemen walk in. Though there's one of them a stranger, I can tell you.
Charles, let's give them some generous burgundy, then perhaps they'll grow conscientious.
Oh, hang on, no. Wine does but draw forth a man's natural qualities, and to make them drink will only whet their neighbours. My honest Moses. Walk in, pray, Mr. Premium. That's the gentleman's name, isn't it, Moses?
Yes.
Set chairs, Trip. Sit down, Mr. Premium, sit down. Moses, glasses, Trip. Mr. Premium, I give you a sentiment. Here's success to usury.
Success to usury.
Success to usury.
Right, Moses. Usury is prudence and industry and deserves to succeed.
Then here's all the success it deserves.
No! That won't do, Mr. Premium. You have demurred at the toast and must drink it in a pint.
Mr. Premium is a gentleman.
And therefore loves good wine.
Give Moses a corked glass. This is mutiny and a high contempt for the...
I'll see justice done to the last drop of my bottle.
Gentlemen, I did not expect this treatment.
No, hang it, you shan't. Mr. Premium's a stranger.
Odd. I wish I were well out of their company.
Oh, well, plague on them then. If they won't drink, we'll not sit down with them. Come, Harry, the cards are in the next room. Oh, Charles, you'll join us when you've finished your business.
I will. Oh, careless.
Well?
Perhaps I may want you.
Oh. Well, you know I'm always ready. Word, note, or bond. It's all the same to me.
Sir, this is Mr. Premium, a gentleman of the strictest honour and secrecy, who always performs what he undertakes. Mr. Premium, sir.
Have done. Sir, my friend Moses is a very honest fellow, but a little slow at expression. He'll be an hour giving us our titles. The plain state of the matter, sir, is this. I am an extravagant young fellow who wants to borrow money. You, I take to be a prudent old fellow who has got money to lend. I am blockhead enough to give 50% sooner than not have it, and you, I presume, are rogue enough to take 100 if you can get it. Now, there you see, we are acquainted at once and may proceed to business without further ceremony.
Exceeding frank, upon my word. I see, sir, you are not a man of many compliments.
Oh, no, sir. Plain dealing in business, I always think best.
Sir, I like you the better for it. However, you are mistaken over one thing. I have no money to lend.
A friend.
Oh, but I believe I could procure some of a friend. But then my friend is an unconscionable dog, isn't he, Moses? And he must sell stock to accommodate you, mustn't he, Moses?
Indeed. You know, I always speak the truth and scorn to tell a lie.
Right, people that speak the truth generally do. But these are trifles, Mr. Freeman. What I know, money isn't to be bought without paying for it.
Well, what security could you offer? You have no land, I suppose.
Ooh, not a molehill nor a twig, but what's in the bow pots at the window.
Not any stock, I presume.
Nothing but livestock, and that's only a few pointers and ponies. But pray, Mr. Freeman, are you acquainted at all with any of my relations?
Why, to say the truth, I am.
Then you must know I have a devilish rich uncle in the East Indies, Sir Oliver Service, from whom I have the greatest expectations.
That you have a wealthy uncle, I have heard. But how your expectations will turn out is more, I believe, than you can tell.
Oh, no, there can be no doubt. I'm told I'm a prodigious favourite. He talks of leaving me everything.
Indeed. Oh, this is the first I've heard of it.
Well, it's just so. Moses knows it is true, don't you, Moses?
Oh, yes, I swear to it.
Egad, they'll persuade me presently. I'm at Bengal.
Now, I propose, Mr. Premium, if it's agreeable to you, a post-obit on Sir Oliver's life. No, at the same time, the old fellow's been so liberal to me. I give you my word, I should be very sorry to hear that anything had happened to him.
Not more than I should, I assure you. However, this bond you mention happens to be the worst possible security you could offer me. For I might live to be 100 and never see the principal.
Oh, no, the moment Sir Oliver dies, you know you could come on me for the money.
Then I believe I should be the most unwelcome dun you ever had in your life.
What? I suppose you're afraid now that Sir Oliver is too good a life.
Oh, no, I'm not. Though I have heard he's as hale and healthy as any man of his years in Christendom.
Oh, no, there again, now you are misinformed. No, the climate has hurt him considerably. Poor Uncle Oliver. He breaks a pace, I'm told, and is so much altered lately that his nearest relations wouldn't know it. You're glad to hear that, little premium.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Oh, yes, you are. You know it mends your chance.
But I'm told Sir Oliver is coming over. Nay, some say he's actually arrived.
Now, sure, I must know better than you whether he's come or not. No. Rely on it. He's at this moment at Calcutta, isn't he, Moses?
Yes, I swear to it.
True, as you say, you must know better than I, though I have it on pretty good authority, haven't I, Moses?
Most undoubted.
But, sir, as I understand you want to raise a few hundreds immediately, is there nothing you could dispose of?
How do you mean?
Well, for instance, now I have heard that your father left behind him a great quantity of massy old plate.
Oh, that's gone long ago. Moses can tell you how better than I can.
Good lack. All the family race cups and corporation bowls. Then again, it was also supposed that his library was one of the most valuable and compact.
Yes, so it was. Vastly too much so for a private gentleman. For my part, I was always of a communicative disposition, and I thought it a shame to keep so much knowledge to myself.
Mercy on me. Learning that had run in the family like an heirloom. Pray, what has become of the books?
Oh, you must inquire of the auctioneer, Mr. Bream, if I don't believe even Moses can direct you.
Oh, I never meddle with books.
So. None of the family property left, I suppose?
Not much, indeed. Unless you have a mind to the family pictures. I've got a room full of ancestors above, and if you have a taste for old paintings, egad, you shall have 'em a bargain.
What the devil? You wouldn't sell your own forefathers, would you?
Every man of them.
What, your great-uncles and aunts?
And my great-grandfathers and grandmothers, too.
Oh, now I give him up. What the plague? Have you no bowels for your own kindred? Odds my life! Do you take me for Shylock in the play that should raise money off me on your own flesh and blood?
That's life, little broker. Don't be angry. What need you care if you have your money's worth?
No. Well, I'll be the purchaser. I think I can dispose of the family canvas. I'll never forgive him for this, never.
Come, Charles, what keeps... In faith, I can't come yet. We're going to have a sale above stairs. Here's little premium. He's going to buy all my ancestors.
Oh, burn your ancestors.
Oh, no, he may do that afterwards, if he pleases. But stay, careless, we want you. You shall be auctioneer, so come along with us.
Oh, well, have with you then, if that's the case. I can handle a hammer as well as a dice box. Again.
Oh, the profligates.
Come, Moses, you shall be a praiser if we want one. That's like little premium. You don't seem to like the business.
Oh, yes, I do, vastly. Yes, I think it's a rare joke to sell one's family by auction. Oh, the prodigal.
To be sure, when a man wants money, where the plague should he get assistance if he can't make free with his own relations?
I'll never forgive him for this, never.
Walk in, gentlemen, pray walk in. Here they are, you see, the family of the surfaces, up to the conquest.
And, in my opinion, a goodly collection.
Oh, aye. These are done in the true spirit of portrait painting. The merit of these is the inveterate likeness, all stiff and awkward as the originals, and like nothing in human nature besides.
We shall never see such figures of men again.
I hope not. But you see, Master Premium, what a domestic character I am. Here I sit of an evening surrounded by my family. But come, get to your pulpit, Mr. Auctioneer. Here's an old gouty chair of my grandfather's will serve the purpose.
Oh, why, this will do. Oh, but Charles, I haven't a hammer. And what's an auctioneer without his hammer?
Egad, what parchment have we here? Our genealogy in full. Here, careless, you shall have no common bit of mahogany. Here's the family tree for you, you rogue. This shall be your hammer, and now you can knock down my ancestors with their own pedigree.
Oh, what an unnatural rogue. He's an ex post facto parricide.
Oh, yes. Here's a list of your generation indeed. Faith, Charles, this is the most convenient thing you could have found for the business. What will not only serve as a hammer, but a catalogue into the barn. Come again. Going again.
Bravo, careless. Well, here now is my great-uncle, Sir Richard Ravelin, a marvellous good general in his day, I assure you. He fought in all the Duke of Marlborough's wars and got that cut over his eye in the Battle of Malplaquet. How say you, Mr. Premium? There's a hero for you. What do you bid?
Bid him speak.
Mr. Premium would have you speak.
Oh, well, he shall have him for £10. I'm sure that's not dear for a staff officer.
Mercy on me. His famous Uncle Richard for £10. Very well, I'll take him at that.
Careless, knock down my Uncle Richard.
Going on. Uncle Richard, £10.
And here is a maiden sister of his, my great-aunt Deborah, done by Nella in his best manner and esteemed a very formidable likeness. There she is, you see, a shepherdess feeding her flock. You shall have her for £5.10. What? The sheep are worth the money.
Poor Deborah. A woman who set such a value on herself, £5.10. Very well, I'll take her at...
Careless, knock down my Aunt Deborah.
Going on. Aunt Deborah and the sheep. £5.10.
And here are two that were a sort of cousin of theirs. You see, Moses, these pictures were done some time ago when beaux wore wigs and the ladies their own hair.
Oh, yes. Hairdresses do appear to have been a little lower in those days.
Well, take that couple for the same.
It's a good bargain.
Jealous?
Going on.
And here is a grandfather of my mother's, a learned judge, well known on the Western Circuit. What do you rate him at, Moses?
4 guineas.
4 guineas? That's like you don't bid me the price of his wig. Mr. Premium, you have more respect for the wool sack. Do let us knock his lordship down at 15.
Oh, by all means.
Go on. Learned judge, £15.
And here are two brothers of his, William and Walter Blunt, Esquires, both members of Parliament and noted speakers, and what is very extraordinary, I believe this is the first time they were ever bought or sold.
That is very extraordinary indeed. Well, I'll take them at your own price for the honour of Parliament.
Well said, little premium. I'll knock them down at 40.
God, 2 members of Parliament, £40.
Oh, but plague on, we shall be all night retailing in this manner. Do let us deal wholesale. How say you, Mr. Premium? Give me £300 for the rest of the family in the lump.
Aye, that'll be the best way.
Well, anything to accommodate you. They're mine. But hold, there is one portrait which you've always passed over.
What, that ill-looking little fellow over the settee?
Yes, sir, I mean that. Though I don't think he's such an ill-looking little fellow by any means.
Not that? Oh, that's my Uncle Oliver. It was done before he went to India.
Your Uncle Oliver? Gad, then you'll never be friends, Charles. That now to me is as stern-looking rogue as ever I saw. An unforgiving eye, a damned disinheriting countenance, an inveterate knave, depend on. Don't you think so, little premium?
Upon my soul, sir, I do not. I think it's as honest a looking face as any in the room, dead or alive. But I suppose Uncle Oliver goes with the rest of the lumber.
No, hang it, I'll not part with poor Noll. The old fellow's been very good to me, and egad, I'll keep his picture while I've a room to put it in.
The rogue's my nephew after all. But, sir, I've taken a fancy to that picture.
Well, I'm sorry for it, if you certainly won't have it. Oons, haven't you got enough of them?
I forgive him everything. But, sir, when I take a whim in my head, I don't value money. I'll give you as much for that as for all the rest.
Now, don't tease me, Master Brooke. I'll not part with it, and that's an end of it.
How like his father the dog is. Well, I've done. I did not perceive it before, but I think I never saw such a striking resemblance. Here is a draft for your son.
Why, 'tis for £800. What?
And you'll not let Sir Oliver go?
Zoons, no, I tell you once more.
Then never mind the difference. We'll settle that another time. But give me your hand on the bargain. You are an honest fellow, Charles. Oh, I beg pardon, sir, for being so free. Come, Moses.
Egad, this is a whimsical old fellow. But harkye, Mr. Premium, you'll prepare lodgings for these gentlemen.
Oh, yes, I'll send for them in a day or two.
But hold, do now send a genteel conveyance, for I assure you they were most of them used to ride in their own carriages.
I will. For all but Oliver.
Aye, all but the little nabob.
You're fixed on that.
Peremptorily.
What a dear, extravagant rogue. Good night, sir.
Good night.
Let me hear now who dares call him profligate.
This is the oddest genius of the sort I ever met with.
Egad, he's the prince of brokers, I think. I wonder how Moses got acquainted with so honest a fellow. Oh, but here comes old Rowley. Do, careless, say I'll join the company in a few moments.
I will, but don't let that old blockhead persuade you to squander any of that money on old musty debts or any such nonsense. For tradesmen, Charles, are the most exorbitant fellows.
Aye, and paying them is only encouraging them.
Nothing else.
Never fear. Oh, let me see. 2/3 of these are mine by right. 530-odd pounds. Egad, I find one's ancestors are more valuable relations than I took them for. Ladies and gentlemen, your most obedient and very grateful servant. Oh, Rowley, you're come just in time to take leave of your old acquaintance.
Yes, I heard they were going. But I wonder you can have such spirits under so many distresses.
Oh, that's the point. My distresses are so many that I can't afford to part with my spirits.
However, I suppose you are surprised I'm not more sorrowful at parting with so many near relations.
Yeah.
It's true, it is very affecting. But you see, they never move a muscle, so why should I?
Oh, there's no making you serious a moment.
Yes, Faith, I am so now. Here, my honest Rolly, get me this change directly and take £100 of it immediately to old Stanley.
£100? Consider.
Gad's life, don't talk about it. Poor Stanley's wants are pressing, and if we don't make haste, we shall have someone call who has a better right to the money.
Yes, Charles, but 1 hour's reflection.
That is very true, but harky, Rolly, while I have, by heaven I'll give, so damn your economy. And now for hazard!
Well, sir, I think, as Sir Peter has said, you have seen Mr. Charles in high glory. 'Tis great pity he's so extravagant.
But he wouldn't sell my picture.
And loves wine and women so much.
But he wouldn't sell my picture.
And game so deep.
But he wouldn't sell my picture. Ah, here's Rowley.
So, Sir Oliver, I find you've made a purchase.
Yes, our young rake parted with his ancestors like old tapestry.
And here has he commissioned me to re-deliver you part of the purchase money.
Me?
I mean, in your necessitous character. Old Stanley.
Oh, there's the pity of it all. He's so damn charitable.
I met a hosier and 2 tailors in the hall whom I'm sure won't be paid. And this 100 would have satisfied them.
Well, I'll pay his debts and his benevolence too.
Gentlemen, I beg pardon for not showing you out. Moses, a word.
Oh, there's a fella for you. Do you know that puppy intercepted the Jew on our coming and wanted to raise money before he got to his master?
Indeed.
Yes, they're now planning an annuity business. But come, now I'm no more a broker, and you shall introduce me to the elder brother as old Stanley.
Oh.
The library at the house of Joseph Surface. Joseph is sitting at his desk. In a corner of the room there is a screen. No letter from Lady Teazle?
No, sir.
I am surprised she has not sent if she's been prevented from coming. Sir Peter certainly does not suspect me. Yet I wish I may not lose the heiress through the scrape I have drawn myself into with the wife. However, Charles's imprudence and bad character are great points in my favour.
Mr. Stanley, sir.
Mr. Stanley, and why should you think I would see him? You must know he comes to ask something.
Well, sir, I would not have let him in, but that Mr. Rowley came to the door with him.
Blockhead, to think I should now be in a temper to receive visits from poor relations. Well, why don't you show the fellow up?
Yes, sir.
I'm in a rare humour to listen to other people's distresses. I shan't be able to bestow even a benevolent sentiment on Stanley. Oh, here he comes, and Rowley with him. Well, I must try and recover myself and put a little charity into my face, however.
What? Does he avoid us? Well, that was he, was it not?
It was, sir, but I doubt you've come a little abruptly. He's coming back. I mustn't be here to interrupt you. I'll be gone.
I'll see you at Sir Peter's.
Without losing a moment.
Sir, I beg you 10,000 pardons for keeping you a moment waiting. Mr. Stanley, I presume.
At your service.
Sir, I beg you will do me the honour to sit down. I entreat you, sir.
Oh, dear sir, there's no occasion. He's too civil by half.
I have not the pleasure of knowing you, Mr. Stanley, but I am extremely happy to see you look so well. You were nearly related to my mother, I think, Mr. Stanley.
Yes, sir, I was. So nearly that my present poverty, I fear, may do discredit to her wealthy children. Else I should not have presumed to trouble you.
Dear sir, there needs no apology. He that is in distress, though a stranger, has a right to claim kindred with the wealthy. I'm sure I wish I was one of that class, and had it in my power to offer you even a small relief.
If your uncle, Sir Oliver, were here, I should have a friend.
I wish he was, sir, with all my heart. You would not need an advocate with him, believe me, sir.
I should not need one. My distress would recommend me. But I imagined his bounty would enable you to become the agent of his charity.
My dear sir, you were strangely misinformed. Sir Oliver is a worthy man. A very worthy man, but avarice, Mr. Stanley, is the vice of age. I will tell you, my dear sir, in confidence, what he has done for me has been a mere nothing, though people I know have thought otherwise, and for my part I never chose to contradict the report.
Has he never transmitted you bullion, rupees, pagodas?
Oh, dear sir, nothing of the kind. Now, a few presents now and then. China, shawls, Congo tea, Aberdavats and Indian crackers, little more, believe me.
Here's gratitude for £12,000. Aberdavats and Indian crackers.
Then, sir, you have heard, I doubt not, of the extravagance of my brother. There are very few would credit what I have done for that unfortunate young man.
Not I, for one.
The sums I have lent him. Indeed, I have been exceedingly to blame. It was an amiable weakness. However, I don't pretend to defend it, and now I feel it doubly culpable, since it deprives me of the pleasure of serving you, Mr. Stanley, as my heart dictates.
Then, sir, you can't assist me.
At present it grieves me to say I cannot. Whenever I have the ability, you may depend upon hearing from me.
I am extremely sorry.
Not more than I, believe me. To pity without the power to relieve is still more painful than to ask and be denied.
Kind sir, your most obedient, humble servant.
You leave me deeply affected, Mr. Stanley. William, be ready to open the door.
Oh, dear sir, no ceremony.
You're most obedient.
You're most obsequious.
You may depend upon hearing from me whenever I can be of service.
Sweet sir, you are too good.
In the meantime, I wish you health and spirits.
Your ever grateful and perpetual humble servant.
Sir, yours as sincerely.
Charles, you are my heir.
This is one bad effect of a good character. It invites application from the unfortunate, and there needs no small degree of address to gain the reputation for benevolence without incurring the expense. The silver ore of pure charity is an expensive item in the catalogue of a man's good qualities, whereas the sentimental French plate I use instead of it makes just as good a show and pays no tax.
Oh, sir, I believe that must be Lady Teazle now.
Hold. See whether it is or not before you go to the door. I have a particular message for you if it should be my brother.
Oh, 'tis her ladyship, sir. She always leaves her chair at the milliner's in the next street.
Stay. Draw that screen before the window. My opposite neighbour is a maiden lady of so curious a temper. That will do. I have a difficult hand to play in this affair. Lady Teazle has lately suspected my views on Maria, but she must by no means be let into that secret, at least until I have her more in my power.
What? Sentiment in soliloquy now? Have you been very impatient? Oh, lad, don't pretend to look grave. I vow I couldn't come before.
Oh, madam, punctuality is a species of constancy, very unfashionable in a lady of quality.
Upon my word, you ought to pity me. Do you know Sir Peter is grown so ill-natured to me of late, and so jealous of Charles, too? That's the best of the story, isn't it?
I'm glad my scandalous friends keep that up.
I'm sure I wish she would let Maria marry him, and then perhaps he would be convinced. Don't you, Mr. Surface?
Indeed I do not. Oh, certainly I do, for then my dear Lady Teazle would also be convinced how wrong her suspicions were of my having any design on the silly girl.
Well, I'm inclined to believe you. But isn't it provoking to have the most ill-natured things said of one? And there's my friend, Lady Snarewell, has circulated I don't know how many scandalous tales of me, and all without any foundation, too. That's what vexes me.
Aye, madam, to be sure, there's the provoking circumstance. Without foundation. Yes, there's the mortification indeed. For whenever a scandalous story is believed against one, there is certainly no comfort like the consciousness of having deserved it.
No, to be sure, then I'd forgive their malice. But to attack me, who am really so innocent, and who never say an ill-natured thing of anybody, that is, of any friend. And then Sir Peter, too, to have him so peevish and so suspicious, when I know the integrity of my own heart. Indeed, 'tis monstrous.
But, my dear Lady Teazle, 'tis your own fault if you suffer it. When a husband entertains groundless suspicions of his wife, and withdraws his confidence from her, the original compact is broken. And she owes it to the honour of her sex to endeavour to outwit him.
Indeed? So that if he suspects me without cause, it follows that the best way of curing his jealousy is to give him reason for it?
Undoubtedly, madam, for your husband should never be deceived in you, and in that case it becomes you to be frail in compliment to his discernment.
To be sure, what you say is very reasonable, and when the consciousness of my innocence...
Ah, my dear madam, there is the great mistake. 'Tis this very conscious innocence that is of the greatest prejudice to you. What is it makes you negligent of forms and careless of the world's opinion? Why, the consciousness of your own innocence. What is it makes you thoughtless in your conduct and apt to run into 1,000 little imprudences? Why, the consciousness of your own innocence. What is it makes you impatient of Sir Peter's temper and outrageous at his suspicions? Why, the consciousness of your innocence.
It is very true.
Now, my dear Lady Teazle, if you would but once make a trifling faux pas, you can't conceive how cautious you would grow and how ready to humour and agree with your husband.
Do you think so?
Oh, I'm sure of it. And then you would find that all scandal would cease at once. For, in short, your character at present is like a person in a plethora, absolutely dying from too much health.
So. Then I perceive your prescription is that I must sin in my own defence and part with my virtue to preserve my reputation.
Exactly so. Upon my credit, ma'am.
Well, certainly this is the oddest doctrine and the newest receipt for avoiding calumny.
An infallible one, believe me. Prudence, like experience, must be paid for.
Why, if my understanding were once convinced...
Oh, certainly your understanding should be convinced. Yes, yes. Heaven forbid I should persuade you to do anything which you thought wrong. No, no, I have too much honour to desire it.
Don't you think we may as well leave honour out of the argument?
The ill effects of your country education, I see, still remain with you.
I doubt they do indeed. And I will fairly own to you that if I could be persuaded to do wrong, it would be by Sir Peter's ill usage sooner than your honourable logic after all.
Then, by this hand, which he is unworthy of... Stay, you blockhead! What do you want?
I beg your pardon, sir, but I thought you would not choose Sir Peter to come up without announcing him.
Sir Peter owns the devil!
Sir Peter! Oh, Lord, I'm ruined!
Sir, does not I let him in?
Oh, I'm quite undone. What will become of me now, Mr. Logic? Mercy, sir, he's on the stairs. I'll be behind this screen, and if I'm ever so imprudent again...
Give me that book!
Ever improving himself. Mr. Surface. Mr. Surface.
Oh, my dear Sir Peter, I beg your pardon. I've been dozing over a stupid book. Well, I'm much obliged to you for this call. You've not been here, I believe, since I fitted up this room. Books, you know, are the only things I'm a coxcomb in.
'Tis very neat indeed. Well, that's proper. You can make even your screen a source of knowledge. How can I perceive with maps?
Yes, I find great use in that screen.
I dare say you must. Certainly when you want to find anything in a hurry.
Aye, or hide anything in a hurry either.
Well, I have a little private business.
You need not stay.
No, sir.
Here's a chair, Sir Peter. I beg.
Well, now we're alone. There's a subject, my dear friend, on which I wish to unburden my mind to you. A point of the very greatest moment to my peace. In short, my good friend, Lady Teazle's conduct of late has made me very unhappy.
Indeed? I'm very sorry to hear it.
Yes, 'tis but too plain she has not the least regard for me. But what's worse, I've pretty good authority to suppose she has formed an attachment to another.
Indeed, you astonish me.
Yes, and between ourselves, I believe I've discovered the person.
How? You alarm me exceedingly.
My dear friend, I knew you'd sympathize with me.
Yes, believe me, my dear Sir Peter, such a discovery would hurt me just as much as it would you.
I'm convinced of it. It is happiness to have a friend whom one can trust even with one's family secrets. But have you no guess who I mean?
I haven't the most distant idea. It can't be Sir Benjamin Backbite.
Oh, no. What do you say to Charles?
My brother? Impossible.
My dear friend, the goodness of your own heart misleads you. You judge of others by yourself.
Certainly, Sir Peter, the heart that is conscious of its own integrity is ever slow to credit another's treachery.
Yes, but your brother has no sentiment. You never heard him talk so.
Yes, but I cannot but think Lady Teazle has too much principle.
What's principle against the flattery of a handsome, lively young fellow?
That's very true.
And then again, the difference in our ages makes it very improbable she should have any great affection for me. And if she were to be frail, and I were to make it public, Why, the town would only laugh at me, the foolish old bachelor who had married a girl.
Yes, that's true, to be sure. They would laugh.
Laugh, I'll make ballads and paragraphs and devil knows what of them.
No. You must never make it public.
And then again, that the nephew of my old friend Sir Oliver should be the person to attempt such a wrong hurts me more nearly.
Aye, there's the point. When ingratitude barbs the dart of treachery, the wound has double danger in it.
Aye, that was in a manner left his guardian, in whose house he'd been so often entertained, who never in my life denied him my advice.
Oh, 'tis not to be credited. There may be a man capable of such baseness, to be sure. For my part, until you give me positive proof, I cannot but doubt it. However, if it should be proved on him, he is no longer brother of mine. I disclaim kindred with him. For the man who can break the laws of hospitality and tempt the wife of his friend deserves to be branded as the pest of society.
What a difference there is between you. What noble sentiments.
But I cannot suspect Lady Teazle's honour.
I'm sure I wish to think well of her and to remove all ground of quarrel between us. She lately reproached me more than once with having made no settlement on her. In our last quarrel, she almost hinted she should not break her heart if I was dead.
Oh.
Now, as we seem to differ in our ideas of expense, I've resolved she shall have her own way and be her own mistress in that respect for the future. And if I were to die, she'll find I've not been unmindful of her interest while living. Now, here, my friend, are the drafts of 2 deeds which I wish to have your opinion on. By one, she shall enjoy 800 a year, independent, while I live, and by the other, the bulk of my fortune at my death.
This conduct, Sir Peter, is indeed truly generous. I wish it may not corrupt my pupil.
Yes, I'm determined she shall have no cause to complain, though I'd not have her acquainted with the latter instance of my affection yet a while.
Nor I, if I could help it.
Well, now, my dear friend, if you please, we'll talk over the situation of your hopes with Maria.
Oh, no, Sir Peter, another time, if you please.
I'm sensibly chagrined at the little progress you seem to make in her affection.
I beg you will not mention it. What are my disappointments when your happiness is in debate? 'Sdeath, I shall be ruined every way.
And though you are averse to my acquainting Lady Teazle with your passion, I'm certain she's not your enemy in the affair.
Now, my dear Sir Peter, pray oblige me. I am really too much affected by the subject we have been speaking of to bestow a thought on my own affairs. The man who is entrusted with his friends' distresses can... Well, sir?
Your brother, sir, is speaking to a gentleman in the street, and he says he knows you're within.
Stets Blockhead, I'm not within. I'm out for the day.
Stay hold. A thought strikes me. You shall be at home.
Well, let him up. He'll interrupt Sir Peter, however.
Now, my dear friend, oblige me, I beseech you. Before Charles comes, let me conceal myself somewhere. Then do you tax him with the point at which we've been talking. His answer may satisfy me at once.
Oh, fie, Sir Peter, would you have me join in so mean a trick to trepan my own brother, too?
Now, you tell me you're certain he's innocent. If so, you do him the greatest service by giving him this opportunity to clear himself, and you'll set my heart at rest. No, you shan't refuse me. Here, behind the screen would be... What the devil? There seems to be one listener there already. I swear I saw a petticoat.
Oh! Well, this is ridiculous enough. I tell you, my dear Sir Peter, though I hold a man of intrigue to be the most despicable character, yet it does not follow one is to be an absolute Joseph either. Hark, it is a little French milliner, a silly rogue that plagues me, and on your coming, sir, having some character to lose, she ran behind the screen.
Oh, Joseph, did I ever think that him? But she's overheard all I've been saying of my wife.
Oh, that will never go any further. You may depend upon it.
No?
No.
Well, Faith, let her hear it out. Here's a closet will do as well.
Well, we'll go in there.
Oh, sly rogue, sly rogue.
A narrow escape indeed. And a curious situation I'm in to part husband and wife in this manner.
Couldn't I steal off?
Keep close, my angel.
Joseph, tax him home.
Back, my dear friend.
Couldn't you lock Sir Peter in?
Be still, my life.
Joseph, you're sure the little milliner won't blab?
In, my dear Sir Peter. Oh, gad, would I had a key to the door.
Hola, brother. What has been the matter? Your fellow wouldn't let me up at first. What? Have you had a Jew or a wench with you?
Neither, brother, I assure you.
What has made Sir Peter steal off? I thought he had been with you.
He was, brother. But hearing you were coming, he did not choose to stay.
What? Is the old fellow afraid I wanted to borrow money of him?
Borrow? No. But I am sorry to find, Charles, that you have lately given that worthy man grounds for great uneasiness.
Yes, well, they tell me I do that to a great many worthy men, but how so, pray?
To be frank with you, brother, he is afraid that you are endeavouring to steal Lady Teazle's affections from him.
Oh, I? Oh, lud, not I, upon my word. So the old fellow's found out he's got a young wife, has he? Or, which is worse, has Lady Teazle found that she has an old husband?
This is no subject to jest on, brother. He who can laugh...
True, as you were going to say. But seriously, brother, I never had the least idea of what you charged me with, upon my honour.
Well, it will give Sir Peter great satisfaction to hear this.
To be sure, I once thought the lady had taken a fancy to me.
Oh?
But upon my soul, I never gave her the least encouragement. Besides, you know my attachment to Maria.
But surely, brother, even if Lady Teazle had betrayed the fondest partiality for you...
Now, look here, Joseph, I hope I shall never deliberately do a dishonourable action, but if a pretty woman were purposely to throw herself in my way, and that pretty woman married to a man old enough to be her father...
Well,
I believe I should be obliged to borrow a little of your morality, that's all. But you know, brother, you surprised me exceedingly by naming me with Lady Teazle, for in faith I always understood that you were her favourite.
Oh, for shame, Charles, this retort is foolish.
Nay, I swear, I've seen you exchange such significant glances.
Nay, sir, this is no jest.
Egad, I'm serious. Don't you remember one day when I
Really,
called
Charles,
you and found you together?
Soon, sir, I insist.
And another time when your servant...
Brother, a word with you. Gad, I must stop you.
Informed, I say.
Hush. I beg your pardon, but Sir Peter has overheard all we've been saying. Oh, I knew you would clear yourself, or I would not have consented.
Sir Peter? Where is he? Behind the screen?
Ah! No, in the closet. There.
For heaven, I'll have him out. Sir Peter, come forth.
No.
Sir Peter, come into court. What, my old guardian? What? Turn inquisitor and take evidence in court? Oh, fie.
Charles, give me your hand. I believe I've suspected you wrongfully, but you mustn't be angry with Joseph. 'Twas my plan.
Indeed.
Aye, but I acquit you. Oh, I assure you I don't think ne'er so ill of you as I did. What I've heard's given me great satisfaction.
Egad, that was lucky you didn't hear any more, wasn't it, Joseph?
What? You'd have retorted on him.
Oh, that was a joke.
Oh, I know his honour too well.
Still, you might just as well have suspected him as me in this matter for all that, mightn't he, Joseph?
Well, I believe you.
Would they were both out of the room?
And in future, perhaps, we may not be such strangers.
Sir, Lady Sneerwell is below.
Up.
And says she'll come up.
Gentlemen, I must wait upon you downstairs. Here is a person come on particular business.
Well, you can see him in another room. Sir Peter and I have not met a long time, but I have something to say to him.
They must not be left together. I'll send Lady Sneerwell away and return directly. Sir Peter, not a word of the French milliner.
Oh, not for the world. Charles, if you were to associate more with your brother Joseph, one might indeed hope for your reformation. Well, he's a man of sentiment. There's nothing in the world so noble as a man of sentiment.
Oh, he's too moral by half, and so apprehensive of his good name, as he calls it, that I suppose he'd as soon let a priest into his house as a wench.
Oh, no, come, you wrong him. No, Joseph is no rake, but he's no such saint either in that respect. I've a great mind to tell him we'd have such a laugh at Joseph.
Oh, hang him, he's a very anchorite, a young hermit.
Harky, you mustn't abuse him. He may chance to hear of it again, I promise you.
Why, you won't tell him?
No, but this way. Egad, I'll tell him. Harky, have you a mind to have a good laugh at Joseph?
Oh, I should like it of all things.
Well, faith, we will. I'll be quit with him for discovering me in the closet. Harky, he had a girl with him when I called.
What, Josie? You jest.
Hush. A little French milliner. And the best of the jest is she's in the room now.
The devil she is.
Hush. I tell you, there.
Behind the screen?
Yes.
Right, let's unveil her.
No, he's coming. You shan't indeed.
Oh, heaven will have a peep at the little milliner.
Not for the world, Joseph, but never forgive me.
I'll stand by
Holmes, here he is.
The screen. Lady Teazle. By all that's wonderful.
Lady Teazle, by all that's damnable.
Sir Peter, this is one of the smartest French milliners I ever saw. Gad, you seem all to have been diverting yourselves here at hide and seek, and I don't see who is out of the secret. Shall I beg your ladyship to inform me? Not a word. Brother, will you be pleased to explain this matter? What, is morality dumb too? Sir Peter, though I found you in the dark, perhaps you are not so now. All mute. Well, though I can make nothing of the affair, I suppose you perfectly understand one another, so I'll leave you to yourselves. Brother, I'm sorry to find that you have given that worthy man grounds for so much uneasiness. Sir Peter, there's nothing in the world so noble as a man of sentiment.
Sir Peter, notwithstanding, I confess that appearances are against me. If you will grant me your patience, I make no doubt but I shall explain everything to your satisfaction.
If you please, sir.
The fact is, sir, that Lady Teazle, knowing my pretensions to your ward, Maria, I say, sir, that Lady Teazle, being apprehensive of the jealousy of your temper, and knowing my friendship to the family, she, sir, I say, called here in order that I might explain these pretensions, but on your coming, sir, being, as I say, apprehensive of the jealousy of your temper, she withdrew, and that, you may depend upon it, is the whole truth of the matter.
A very clear account, upon my word. And I dare swear the lady will vouch for every article of it.
For not one word of it, Sir Peter.
How? Don't you think it worthwhile to agree in the lie?
There is not one syllable of truth in what that gentleman has told you.
I believe you upon my soul, madam.
Death, madam, would you betray me?
Good Mr. Hypocrite, by your leave, I'll speak for myself.
I let her alone, sir. You'll find she'll make out a better story than you, without prompting.
Hear me, Sir Peter. I came here on no matter relating to your ward, and even ignorant of this gentleman's pretensions to her. But I came, seduced by his insidious arguments, at least to listen to his pretended passion, if not to sacrifice your honor to his baseness.
Now I believe the truth is coming indeed.
The woman's mad.
No, sir. She has recovered her senses, and your own arts have furnished her with the means. Sir Peter, I do not expect you to credit me, but the tenderness you expressed for me when I am sure you could not think I was a witness to it has penetrated so to my heart that had I left the place without the shame of this discovery, my future life should have spoken the sincerity of my gratitude. As for that smooth-tongued hypocrite who would have seduced the wife of his too credulous friend while he affected honourable addresses to his ward, I behold him now in a light so truly despicable that I shall never again respect myself for having listened to him.
Notwithstanding all this, Sir Peter, heaven knows
that you are a villain, and so I leave you to your conscience.
You are too rash, Sir Peter. You shall hear me. The man who shuts out conviction.
Damn your sentiments!
Next morning, the news of the scandal has been spreading through the town. Mrs. Candour, Sir Benjamin Backbite, Mr. Crabtree and Lady Sneerwell pass hastily down the street, one following the other, all in the direction of Sir Peter's house. Mrs. Candour is the first to arrive there, but Lady Teazle's maid will not permit her to go upstairs.
Indeed, ma'am, milady will see nobody at present.
Did you tell her it was her friend, Mrs. Candour?
Yes, ma'am, but she begs you will excuse me.
Do go again. I shall be glad to see her, if it be only for a moment, for I'm sure she must be in great distress. Dear heart, how provoking. I'm not mistress of half the circumstances. We shall have the whole affair in the newspapers, with the names of the parties at length, before I've dropped the story at a dozen houses. Oh, dear Sir Benjamin. Oh, you've heard, I suppose.
Of Lady Teazle and Mr. Surface.
And Sir Peter's discovery.
Oh, the strangest piece of business, to be sure.
Well, I was never so surprised in my life, and I'm so sorry for all parties indeed.
Now, I don't pity Sir Peter at all. He was so extravagantly partial to Mr. Surface.
Mr. Surface? Why, it was with Charles that Lady Teazle was detected.
No. I tell you, Mr. Surface is a gallant...
No such thing. Charles is the man Mr. Surface brought Sir Peter on purpose to discover me.
I tell you, I had it from one.
I had it from one.
Who had it from one? Who had it from
Who
one?
had it from one immediately? Ah, but here comes Lady Snowwell. Perhaps she knows the whole affair.
So, my dear Mrs. Candour, here's a sad affair of our friend Lady Teazle.
Aye, my dear friend, whoever would have thought...
Well, there's no trusting to appearances, though indeed she was always too lively for me.
Oh, to be sure, her manners were a little too free, but then she was so young.
And had indeed some good qualities.
So she had indeed. But have you heard the particulars?
No. But everybody says that Mr. Surface...
Hi, there, I told you Mr. Surface was the man.
No, indeed. The assignation was with Charles.
With Charles? You alarm me, Mrs. Candour.
Yes, he was the lover. Mr. Surface, to do him justice, was only the informer.
Well, I'll not dispute with you, Mrs. Candour, but be which it may, I hope that Sir Peter's wound
Sir Peter's
will not...
wound? Oh, mercy, I didn't hear a word of that fighting.
Nor I, a syllable.
No. What, no mention of the duel?
Not a word.
No, yes. They fought before they left the room.
Oh, pray, let us hear.
I do oblige us with a duel.
Sir, says Sir Peter, immediately after the discovery, you are a most ungrateful fellow.
I to Charles.
No, to Mr. Surface. A most ungrateful fellow. And old as I am, sir, says he, I insist on immediate satisfaction.
Well, that must have been to Charles, for it is very unlikely Mr. Surface would fight in his own house.
Gad's life, ma'am, not at all. Giving me immediate satisfaction. On this, ma'am, Lady Teazle, seeing Sir Peter in such danger, ran out of the room in strong hysterics, with Charles after her, calling out for hartshorn and water. Then, madam, they began to fight with
pistols,
swords.
nephew, pistols. I have it from undoubted authority.
Oh, Mr. Crabtree, then it's all true.
Too true indeed, ma'am. And Sir Peter is dangerously wounded.
By a thrust in Sagoon, quite through his left side.
With a bullet lodged in the thorax.
Mercy on us, poor Sir Peter.
Yes, ma'am. Though Charles would have avoided the matter if he could.
I knew Charles was the person.
My uncle, I see, knows nothing of the matter.
But Sir Peter taxed him with the basest ingratitude.
That I told you, you know.
Do, nephew, let me speak. And insisted on immediate...
Just as I said.
Odds like, nephew, allow others to know something too. A pair of pistols lay on the bureau. For Mr. Surface, it seems, had come home the night before, late from Salt Hill, where he'd been to see the Montem with a friend who has a son at Easton. So, unluckily, the pistols were left charged.
I heard nothing of this.
Sir Peter forced Charles to take one, and they fired, it seems, pretty nearly together. Charles's shot took effect, as I told you, and Sir Peter's missed. But what was very extraordinary, the bullet struck a little bronze Shakespeare that stood over the fireplace, grazed out of the window at right angles, and wounded the postman, who was just coming to the door with a double letter from Northamptonshire.
Well, my uncle's account is the more circumstantial, I confess. But I believe mine's a true one for all that.
I am more interested in this affair than they imagine, and must have better information.
Ah. Lady Snowwell's alarm is very easily accounted for.
Yes, and they certainly do say. But that is neither here nor there.
But pray, where is Sir Peter at present?
They brought him home, and he is now in the house, though the servants have been ordered to deny him.
I believe so. And Lady Teazle, I suppose, attending him.
Yes, and I saw one of the faculty enter just before me.
Hey, who comes here?
This is he, the physician, dependent.
Certainly, this must be the physician. Now we shall know.
Well, Doctor, what hopes?
Hi, Doctor. How's your patient?
Now, Doctor, isn't it a wound with a small saw?
A bullet lodged in the thorax for 100.
Doctor, a wound with a small saw, a bullet in the thorax? Wounds, are you mad, good people?
Perhaps, sir, you are not a doctor.
Well, truly, I'm to thank you for my degree, if I am.
Only a friend of Sir Peter's, then, I presume. But surely, sir, you must have heard about his accident.
Not a word.
What? Not about his being dangerously wounded?
The devil he
runs through the body.
A bullet in the breast.
By one Mr. Surface.
Aye, the younger.
You seem to differ strangely in your accounts. However, you do agree that Sir Peter is dangerously wounded.
Oh, yes, we agree in that.
Then upon my soul, for a person in that situation, he's the most imprudent man alive. For here he comes, walking as if nothing at all was the matter. Odds heart, Sir Peter. You're coming good time, I promise you. We've just given you over.
Egad, Uncle, this is the most sudden recovery.
Why, man, what are you doing out of bed? With a small sword through your body and a bullet lodged in your thorax.
A small sword and a bullet?
Aye, these gentlemen would have killed you without law or physic, and wanted to dub me a doctor to make me an accomplice.
Why, what is all this?
We rejoice, Sir Peter, that the story of your duel is not true, and are sincerely sorry for your other misfortunes.
So all over the town already.
No, Sir Peter, you were vastly to blame to marry at your years.
Sir, what business is that of yours?
Though as Sir Peter made so good a husband, he's very much to be pitied.
Plague on your pity, ma'am, I desire none of it.
However, Sir Peter, you must not mind the laughing and the jests you will meet with on the occasion.
Sir, I insist on being left to myself.
It is an uncommon case, that's one comfort.
Sir, I insist upon being master in my own house.
Well, we're going, and depend on we'll make the best report we can.
Leave my house.
And see how unkindly you've been treated.
Leave my house.
How patiently you bear it.
Leave my house. Fiends, vipers, furies, oh, that their own venom would choke them.
They are very provoking indeed, Sir Peter.
I heard high words. What has ruffled you, sir?
Sir, what signifies asking to ever pass a day without my vexations?
Sir, I met Lady Teazle coming from Mr. Surface's, so humbled. She deigned to request me to be her advocate with you.
And does Sir Oliver know all this?
Every circumstance.
What of the closet and the screen? Eh?
And the little French milliner. I was vastly diverted by the story.
'Twas very pleasant.
I never laughed more in my life.
Vastly diverting.
I should like to see your face when the screen was thrown down.
My face when the screen was thrown down. I'll never show my head again.
Oh, but come, it isn't fair to laugh at you neither, my old friend. Though upon my soul, I can't help it.
Sir, I see Lady Teazle in the next room. Now, I'm sure you desire a reconciliation as earnestly as she does.
Perhaps my being here prevents her coming to you. I'll leave honest Rowley to mediate between you. But he must bring you all presently to Mr. Surface's, where I'm now returning.
I'll be present at your discovering yourself there with all my heart, though 'tis a damned unlucky place for discoveries.
We'll follow.
She's not coming here, you see, Rowley.
No. But she's left the door of the room open, you perceive. Oh, she's in tears.
Certainly. A little mortification is very becoming in a wife. Do you think it'd do her good to let her pine a little?
Oh, that is ungenerous in you.
Well, I know not what to think. You remember that letter I found of hers, evidently intended for Charles?
Mere forgery, Sir Peter. Laid in your way on purpose.
She looks this way. Oh, what a remarkably elegant turn of the head she has. Rowley, I'll go to her.
Certainly.
Yet, when 'tis known we're reconciled, people will laugh at me 10 times more.
Let them laugh and retort their malice by showing them that you're happy in spite of it.
If faith, so I will. And if I'm not mistaken, we may yet be the happiest couple in the country.
Ah, Sir Peter, when a man lays aside suspicion...
Hold, Master Rowley. If you've any regard for me, never let me hear you utter anything like a sentiment. I've had enough of them to serve me the rest of my life.
Back in the library, Lady Sneerwell is furiously angry with Joseph at the failure of their malicious schemes.
Impossible. Will not Sir Peter immediately be reconciled to Charles, and of course no longer oppose his union to Meriel? The thought is distraction to me.
Can passion furnish a remedy?
No, nor cunning either. Oh, I was a fool, an idiot, to league with such a blunderer.
Sure, Lady Sneerwell, I am the greatest sufferer, yet you see I bear the accident with calmness.
Because the disappointment doesn't reach your heart. Your interest only attached you to Meriel. Had you felt for her what I have for that ungrateful libertine, neither your temper nor hypocrisy could prevent your showing the sharpness of your vexation.
But why should your reproaches fall upon me for this disappointment?
Are you not the cause of it? Had you not sufficient field for your roguery in imposing upon Sir Peter and supplanting your brother, but you must endeavour to seduce his wife? I hate such an avarice of crimes. 'Tis an unfair monopoly, and never prospers.
Well, I admit I have been to blame. I confess I deviated from the direct road of wrong. However, I don't think we're so totally defeated either.
No?
You say you've made a further trial of Snake since we met, and that you still believe him faithful to us.
I do believe so.
Come, it's not too late yet. Hark, it is probably my Uncle Sir Oliver. Retire to that room. We can consult further when he is gone.
But if he should find you out too?
Have no fear of that. I shall soon be able to discover Sir Oliver's weak side.
I have no diffidence of your abilities. Only be constant to one roguery at a time.
I will. So it is confounded hard, after such bad fortune, to be baited by one's confederate in evil. Well, at all events, my character's so much better than Charles.
No, sir.
Hey, what the devil? This is not Sir Oliver, but old Stanley again. Gad's life, Mr. Stanley. Why must you come back to plague me at this time? You must not stay now, upon my word.
Sir, I hear your Uncle Oliver is expected here. And though he's been so penurious to you, I'll try what he'll do for me.
Sir, it is impossible for you to stay now. Come at any other time, and I promise you shall be assisted.
Nay, Sir Oliver and I must be acquainted.
Soon, sir, then I insist upon your quitting the room directly.
Nay, sir.
Sir, I insist upon it. William, show this gentleman out.
Yes, sir.
Since you compel me, this is such insolence.
Dave, what's the matter now? What the plague? Have you got hold of my little broker here?
Yes, brother, don't hurt little Premium.
What's the matter, my little fellow?
Oh, so he's been with you too, has he?
To be sure he has. Why, he's as honest as... But sure, Joseph, you've not been borrowing money too, have you?
Borrowing, no. But brother, you know we expect Sir Oliver here.
That's right, that's true. None mustn't find the little broker here, to be sure.
But Mr. Stanley insists.
Stanley? His name's Premium.
No, Stanley.
No, Premium.
Well, no matter which.
Quite true, as you say, but I suppose he goes by 100 names.
Hark, that's Sir Oliver now. Now, I beg, Mr. Stanley.
And I beg Mr. Premium.
Now, gentlemen.
Sir, by heaven, you shall go.
I out with him, to be sure.
No, it's violence.
Oliver, what in the name of wonder here are dutiful nephews? What? Assault their uncle at his first visit?
Indeed, Sir Oliver, 'twas well we came in to rescue you.
Truly it was, for I perceived, Sir Oliver, the character of old Stanley was no protection to you.
Nor of Premium either. The necessities of the former could not extort a shilling from that benevolent gentleman. And with the other, I stood a chance of faring worse than my ancestors, and being knocked down without being bid for.
Charles, Joseph, 'tis now complete, very.
Sir Peter, my friend, and Rowley too, look on that elder nephew of mine. You know what he's already received from my bounty, and you also know how gladly I would have regarded half my fortune as held in trust for him. Judge then my disappointment in discovering him to be destitute of truth, charity, and gratitude.
Sir Oliver, I would be more surprised at this declaration had I not myself found him to be mean, treacherous, and hypocritical.
And if the gentleman pleads not guilty to these, pray let him call me to his character.
Then I believe we need add no more.
If they talk this way to honesty, what will they say to me by and by?
As for that prodigal, his brother...
Now comes my turn. Those damn family pictures will ruin me.
Sir Oliver, uncle, will you honour me with a hearing?
If Joseph would make one of his long speeches, I might recollect myself a little.
I suppose you would undertake to justify yourself.
Well, I trust I could.
And you, sir, you could justify yourself too, I suppose.
Not that I know of, Sir Oliver.
Oh, little Premium has been let too much into the secret, I suppose.
True, sir. But they were family secrets and should not be mentioned again, you know.
Come, Sir Oliver. I'm sure you cannot speak of Charles's follies with anger.
No more I can. Nor with gravity either. Sir Peter, do you know that rogue bargained with me for all his ancestors? Sold me judges and generals by the foot, and made an aunts as cheap as broken china.
Sir Oliver, I did make a little free with the family canvas, that's the truth on't. But believe me sincere when I tell you that if I do not appear mortified at the exposure of my follies, it is because I feel at this moment the warmest satisfaction at seeing you, my liberal benefactor.
Charles, I believe you. The ill-looking little fellow over the settee has made your peace.
And, sir, my gratitude to the original is still increased.
Yet I believe, Sir Oliver, here is one whom Charles is still more anxious to be reconciled to.
Oh, yes, I've heard of his attachment there. And with the young lady's pardon, if I construe right, that blush...
Well, child, speak your sentiments.
Sir, I have little to say, but I shall rejoice to hear that he is happy. For me, whatever claim I had to his attention, I willingly resign to one who has a better title.
How, Meriel?
Hey, dear, what's the mystery now? While he appeared an incorrigible rake, you'll give your hand to no one else. Now that he's likely to reform, I warrant you won't have him.
His own heart and Lady Sneerwell know the cause.
Lady Sneerwell? Brother, it is with great concern that I am obliged to speak on this point, but my regard for justice compels me, and Lady Sneerwell's injuries can no longer be concealed.
Ungrateful Charles.
So, another French milliner. Egad, he has one in every room in the house, I suppose.
Well, may you be surprised. and feel for the indelicate situation your perfidy has led me into.
Uncle, is this another plot of yours? For as I have life, I don't understand.
I believe, sir, there is but the evidence of one person more necessary to make it extremely clear.
And that person, I imagine, is Mr. Snake. Rowley, you were perfectly right to bring him with us. Pray let him appear.
Walk in, Mr. Snake. I thought his testimony might be wanted. However, it happens unluckily he comes to confront Lady Sneerwell and not to support her.
A villain! Treacherous to me at last? Speak, fellow. Have you two conspired against me?
I beg your ladyship 10,000 pardons. You paid me extremely liberally for the lie in question, but I unfortunately have been offered double to speak the truth.
The torments of shame and disappointment on you all.
Hold, Lady Sneerwell. Before you go, let me thank you for the trouble you and that gentleman have taken in writing letters from me to Charles and answering them yourself. And let me also ask you to pay my respects to the scandalous college of which you are president, and inform them that Lady Teazle, licentiate, begs leave to return the diploma they granted her, as she leaves off practice and kills characters no longer.
You too, madam. Provoking? Insolent? May your husband live these 50 years.
Oons, what a fury.
A malicious creature indeed.
What? Not for her last wish?
Oh, no.
Well, sir, and what have you to say now?
Sir, I am so confounded to find that Lady Sneerwell could be guilty of suborning Mr. Snake in this manner to impose on us all, that I know not what to say. However, lest her revengeful spirit should prompt her to injure my brother, I had certainly better follow her directly.
Moral to the last drop.
Aye, and marry her too, Joseph, if you can. Oil and vinegar. Egad, you should do very well together.
I think we have no more occasion for Mr. Snake at present.
Before I go, I beg pardon once for all for whatever uneasiness I may have been the humble instrument of causing to the parties present.
Well, you've made atonement by a good deed at last.
But I must request of the company that it shall never be known.
Hey, what the plague? Are you ashamed of having done a good thing once in your life?
Ah, sir, consider, I live by the badness of my character, and if it were once known that I had been betrayed into an honest action, I should lose every friend I have in the world.
Well, we'll not traduce you by saying anything good about you, never fear.
There's a precious rogue.
See, Sir Oliver, there needs no persuasion now to reconcile your nephew with Maria.
And may you live as happily together as Lady Teazle and I intend to do.
My old friend Rowley, I'm sure you congratulate me, and I suspect that I owe you much.
You do indeed, Charles.
Deserve to be happy, and you over-repay me.
I, honest Rowley, always said you would reform.
Well, as to reforming, Sir Peter, I make no promises, and that I take to be a proof that I intend to set about it. But here shall be my monitor, my gentle guide. Oh, can I leave the virtuous path those eyes illumine? Though thou, dear maid, shouldst wave thy beauty's sway, thou still must rule because I will obey. An humble fugitive from folly view, no sanctuary near but love and you.
You can indeed each anxious fear remove, for even scandal dies if you approve.